Connecting now. Well, it seems like it's streaming.
It says it's streaming. It says it's going. I haven't got it. It hasn't updated for me, but that doesn't mean anything because it's, you know, tin can. Oh no, it says you're live. Hang on. Wait, we appear to be live. It appears to be doing things. Oh no, it's giving me a countdown timer.
Yeah, that's me. That's I set up the countdown timer.
Ah, right, okay. I've got a 3D printed raccoon holding something or other.
If I go to Urban Agoge, my channel.
Oh, I've got an E.
So there's that. There's that. My YouTube is so slow.
Sounds like you're having fun of the internet, doesn't it?
It might be because I've got too much stuff happening on this computer, really.
Yep.
It's probably processing. I mean, it's only like a little weenie T440p.
Yeah, okay. Yep. It's not going to help.
Do you want to put a
With
post
the,
in
yeah.
Rangers to say that we'll be broadcasting soon?
No, I did.
Alright, cool.
I did.
Did you put a link? Have you got a link? Can you put a link to the URL?
Yep. Yep, hang on. I was being clever and using the other computer to do it, and then I can't transfer fucking links across two computers, can I? Because no one's invented that as a thing yet. But I can now.
Let's see what the lag is.
It's pretty. It's It's about 30 seconds. They can hear us. I can hear myself, so that's good. And the audio comes through right, so it's good. It's clear. Cool beans.
Yeah, you're right. Pretty on the money at 30 seconds.
But I can now. Yep. That was a good guess, wasn't it?
And I can hear
It was a
music.
good guess.
Yeah.
Yep.
Let's see what the lag is.
It's
Right,
pretty.
we'll go
It's
with that's working.
I can stay open for a second. That can do that and go there.
And we're in. Right, okay. Just go to Rangers. You put it in lobby or Rangers?
I'll put it in Rangers because I got the lobbies always muted to me.
Right.
I put it in New Rangers Media and in Rangers, so I figured that was enough to. If anyone was around, they were sitting at their desk, then they were going to get a beep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, back to friends. Can you do a link to Walkie Talk? Can you? Is there an invite thing?
I don't know how you invite to the channel. No, you can only do it for. You can only do it for. It does the whole server, not the fucking. Not the channel. It's there should be a song about setting up. There should be a song about setting up.
Mm. Well, I just invited Chipco, so I'm not watching it because I don't want to mess up the broadband thing.
No. I only had it open on the other computer so I could make sure it started all right. But it started all right. So yeah. Yep. And sounds working all right.
Right.
I can hear myself twice.
Yeah. You don't have to monitor it, dude. You can mute it
I can
on YouTube.
I can always. Yeah, I have done. I can always hear myself twice. So what difference does it make? Yeah. Oh no! Everything fell over. Oh, there's that thing I needed. There's that bit of paper I needed. Why does my neighborhood watch thing like not have a useful thing on it? Like I can call Crime Stoppers. Like, I don't want to call Crime Stoppers. Or do defib training.
It's a shame you can't crop the camera in Discord.
From Discord. Yeah. Yep. It's a one of those weird things where the camera, I don't know why, it's the camera on the computer is so bloody wide at my end. Yeah. It's okay, people can stare at my fish. I don't mind.
Yeah.
Oh, Chipco has come along into chat and said hello in the thing. Hello Chipco. In 30 seconds you'll hear me saying hello to you.
Yeah, there's a lag of 30 seconds, so. Hello Chipco.
Yep.
Oh yeah. It's a bit better.
So what are we? Well, I'm only like 3 weeks late, aren't I?
Yeah, it's only a few weeks.
Is that right?
I think it was about 30th of December. I don't think it's the new year.
Yeah. I think I'm 2 weeks late in terms of me turning up on time. But then I was an hour early this morning, so work that out.
Yeah. Well, I've got plenty of time to put in.
Yep. Yep. That was always good. So yeah, I'm sorry I missed. Who did I missed Stan, didn't I? I missed Stan. Stan came around and like specifically to like to be in the studio to like talk live at me.
Oh no,
via
that
the tin cans.
That was Sam. Yeah.
Oh, that was Sam. Sorry. Yep. Sam turned up. Live to like talk to me, and then it's like I was asleep. So I apologise, Sam, profusely for not being awake.
Yeah.
When I was supposed to be.
So give me a minute. I'm gonna take the last 2 minutes and just quickly go to the loo. That's probably a good idea.
Yep. Cool.
I'll be back in a sec.
Good plan. It makes you wonder if the BBC presenters wish that they could just like go to the bathroom live on air. Makes sense. Oh, I'm tired too. Excuse me, yawning. So hopefully everyone in streaming land is having fun and is enjoying themselves. It's 10 to 7 here in Australia on the East Coast. And what else happening? My small person went away yesterday. That's the only thing I can think that my small person was here for a week and she's gone away, so yeah. I'm busy tucking down fake copies and pretending like I know what is going on. But that is okay. That is okay. I'm gonna go there and I'm gonna do this. Put the show notes in while I'm thinking about it, shall I? Someone has released a 4K up screen AV remaster, AI remaster of something. You didn't have to do that. There was nothing wrong with it at the first point.
Oh, timing.
Yep, we had 33 seconds according to my thing.
8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0, and we're gone. And we're here. Welcome.
I mean, we're already here. I was already talking to people, but
I
yeah,
know.
we are now live.
Yeah. All right.
And
So
I'm watching on the backstop. So 30 seconds later, I get to see myself. That's great, isn't it?
30 seconds ago. Yeah, that's not a problem at all. Here's
Yeah.
the scruffy hair. It's been a week. And yeah, this is the second episode of the art thing,
The art thing
where we get together and chat about cool media and
and
art.
stuff.
Yeah. Why the fuck not?
Indeed. Why the fuck
I'd
not?
watch it if someone else was, if
Do it.
if it was somebody that I can't, welcome to the neurodivergent art review.
It's a stream of consciousness.
Yeah, but I watch it. I mean, it's one of those things. Maybe we need a little window on there with a secretarial thing.
Yep.
That
I think
makes
there's
sense.
a way of like forcing the various chats to like come together in some kind of like useful way.
Yeah.
So there's a way of doing that, but I don't know how to do it. That's a future problem.
All right. Did you have your list?
I have got my list. It's even open, and then I was actually like copying things into list. So yeah, I have my list that I
Ah, cool.
I sort of
I've
wrote.
got my list.
Yep. So
So what do you feel
expect
like
to get-
starting with?
well, see, I'm going to go with my first one because that was my first one. So I think it's one of them. I tried to put them in sort of like in an interesting order, but the first one was definitely like the thing that I think everyone should have, which goes to much wider realms than we probably have time to talk about. But my first one was I think everyone should have a copy of an encyclopedia set, and I put down Pear's Cyclopedia because I really like them.
Yeah.
As a format, which I think we all sort of love as a format, colloquially, as a group. But I think the offlinedness of them is wonderful.
Mm.
The coverage is just sublime. Yeah, and I don't think that like Wikipedia doesn't come close to the level of information you get out of either the Britannica or a couple of copies of the Pear's Cyclopedia. So I have both. I have I have an ex-library copy of the Britannica sitting on the bottom shelf of one of the bookshelves, which you can't see. It's just behind there.
Yeah, we don't
then-
get that so much in the UK,
Yeah,
but I think people having encyclopedias at home is one of those sort of like legacy things that maybe older people in Australia will keep a hold of.
yeah. I think it's one of the few things that like we have. We seem to get book series over here because it was like that people would sell a lot via like Reader's Digest or via the via Britannica. Salespeople would come around type thing and that was something that people would do.
Oh, I did buy a Reader's Digest book the other day.
Yeah.
In my £1.25 shopping spree at Bernardo's.
Yep.
25p of that was the carrier bag because I'd completely forgotten to take a carrier bag.
Yep.
And it turned out that it was heavy books. It was nothing I could put in a pocket. So I got a series of sea stories by Nicholas Montserrat, C.S. Forrester, and somebody else.
Yeah.
That was pretty good. That's a Reader's Digest condensed book.
Yep. No, there is there's something to be said for the sort of the Reader's Digest-esque, like one of my earliest books that I remember getting given was like a Reader's Digest copy of like fucking Stories for Boys or whatever whatever you want to call it type thing, that sort of like series of thing, Stories for Boys or Stories for Girls depending on which round it was type thing, and the sort of the annotated version of the abbreviated version of a couple of different stories, and it's just a great way for kids to get into reading that reading proper books, but them not being so long that they sort of lose interest in them until they can get into a full size book.
Yeah.
Which I think important stepping stone.
When I was a kid, we got given a whole big series of boxes of books because somebody's kids had moved out, but they'd had an older daughter and a younger son. So my younger sister didn't really want to read any of those books just yet because they didn't have pictures in them, and I ended up poaching. So I've read a lot of young women's fiction from the 1950s, which is really weird.
Yeah.
So a lot of Enid Blyton books for girls and stuff like that, because
Yeah.
there was
I
heavily
mean,
gendered fiction, back in the day.
Yeah, yeah, it completely is. You know, I've read the Sinclair series to my small person.
Yeah.
Just because, you know, when we started off with my copy of, you know, it's my hardback copy from when I was a kid version of the Enchanted Forest, the Magic Faraway Tree, and then the Folk of the Faraway Tree. I've got all three of them, and I, you know, read those with Tilda type thing when she was tiny, and then she's gone on and gone like, I want more of these type of stories. So we've ended up getting
They
her.
don't
You know,
make
she's
them
had,
anymore.
you know,
Sorry.
yeah, it's like, you know, well, they don't make any more. There's so
Called
many
Harry
in blind
Potter.
books. You just, yeah, fucking Harry Potter. What shit?
Yeah.
So they're not even a fucking book. But yeah, so like, you know, I've read a lot of Sinclair's bits and pieces, and you're right, it is gendered, and it is very much of its time. But it's in exactly the same way that reading, you know, in exactly the same way of reading, say, Blinky Bill, or reading there's a lot of Australian fiction that comes out, you know, in similar vein.
Mm.
Snugglepot and Cuddlepie.
The Wild
Um,
Bunbury.
yeah, there's all sorts of those sort of things that are like, you know, they're of their time, but they're also, you know, classical works of fiction.
Yeah.
You know, and there's nothing wrong with that. So it's, you know, it's something exciting and interesting
Yeah.
to get into, especially with a small person. You know, have a range of books that a small person might want to read, and then magically they will grow up to be readers.
Mm.
And then, as mine did the other day, she arrived on a Sunday. I walked into the house and, you know, didn't want to do anything. She wanted to sort of sit on the couch and be in her own space because she'd just been in the car, and then, you know, was, you know, decompressing type thing.
Mm.
But she picked up Animal Farm, and in the course of a week, she read the whole of Animal Farm, and then she started reading again, you know, The Enchanted Wood.
Oh, there we go.
And then
I thought you
between
were going
times
to
she's
say
taken.
Then she read 1984, Brave New World.
No,
and just
she
gave up
went
on
through all of
humanity.
Animal Farm. No, there's some things that are put out. That's my phone telling me to wake up, to get on the thing. You know, use my phone, telling me to get up out of bed to talk
The
to
world.
Zach.
World.
Yep. But yeah, and then she's gone away with one of my copies of The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. You know, 6 books in one type thing.
All right.
So she's wandered off with, like, you know, a book that's like, you know, like fucking thick, all the books in one, and she's gone off to go and read, you know, Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. She's read the first. I think I've read her the first half of the first book or whatever, because she's listened to the audiobooks.
Yeah.
Multiple times over, and she's like, I'm going to read this now, and she's like, I'll take that with me, and I'll come back with it. Having had it half read, and I'm like, great.
Yeah. You might hear.
The
This is at my discretion, but you can say do it. You might hear, if you're listening to the YouTube thing. I'm just going to check.
I'm not. I can.
I can't hear it. Hold on a second.
What can't you hear? I can hear us both. I'm using the technology of another computer sat behind the computer I'm talking to you on.
I should be able to hear this on my headphones.
Oh.
I should be able to hear it in a second now.
I don't want to
I've just got
so
a siren sound effect for the YouTube thing. If we get on a tangent.
Yep, we can have a siren.
Yeah.
Oh, he's a tangent. Tangent disappeared. Like, we got half a book in. We got the Panencyclopedia covered off. I was glad. I'm actually glad about Angel turning up, because many of what I had was actually a response to Sam and to Iron Angel being here last time around.
Yeah. Well, I did have an air raid siren, but I can't hear it when I hit it, because I'm not listening to the YouTube thing. So you might hear like 20 seconds of the siren, which is the. I'm just gonna have to go awooga if I think that the tangent. That's the rules.
The tangent has gone too far.
If you're listening in, then that's cool. Yeah. But if you're participating and you think we've gone on too long, just say awooga, and that's your tangent klaxon.
Yeah. We need the nuclear air raid siren.
Well, that's
sound,
what it is. That's
the
sound effect I got. That's the annoying thing. So if you're on YouTube, you can hear it, but if I can't hear it, I don't know to switch it off. So I've had to mute it entirely. Yeah, there you go. It's teething problems. I tried to be too clever. I mean, I had the intro thing and the 10-minute countdown working.
Yeah. You've done the iteration on, you know, the iteration on good. You know, it's gotten 10% better than it was last time.
Yeah.
I've turned up to start with. I don't know if that's a positive or a net positive or net benefit, but you know.
But I saved the Pears Cyclopedia thing because it's on my list as well.
Yep.
To give you context, back in the day, and still, there is a brand of soap called Pears, and because people who made a lot of money at a certain time in British history, the Edwardian era, liked to plough back money into what they called public works. Some people built parks, some people built housing for workers, and some people published things that were for the good of people. So the Pears company, the soap company, decided to put out a condensed 1-volume encyclopedia every year with changing information every year. And I'm pretty sure that if you collected enough Pears wrappers and sent them off, you only had to pay postage for the encyclopedia.
Yeah, it's pretty insane, isn't it? You know that.
I don't know how long that ran for, but basically it's about the size of a standard, handheld hardback book.
I could get one.
You could get one.
Yeah.
Yep.
I could get one if I roll off the floor, because I'm sitting on the floor and I go past the weights. I can go over here and I can get. Here's a pair of encyclopedia. This one's missing its dust jacket.
Yeah, the one I got's
the
missing.
tangent alarm.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
The klaxon is work. Chipko said in the chat that the klaxon was working.
Yeah.
So it's a standard sort of A4-ish S book.
Audio, so.
Yeah.
But you ring the tangent alert and I show up, so.
That wasn't as you turned up. It probably felt like it. There's a 30-second lag between here and Chipko.
Chipko's in the past.
That's good to know, as the siren was a little jarring, but all good. Yeah, I'll try and figure out in the meantime. Yep. Oh yeah, they always included an atlas.
There's the map. There's the atlas in the middle. Spain and Portugal. A bit of Arabia.
Yeah, it's generally a worldwide atlas. I mean, it's designed to be
like North America, India, etc., etc.
A thing that helps you with your homework, really.
Yeah, and they're really, really interesting. And just the process of them making it, but also to me, it's more the process of what they decided to stick in that year is always good.
But it's
always fascinating.
Our Collins Abridged Dictionary was the arbiter of Scrabble when I was a kid, and that was a concise dictionary. So you couldn't use all the weird 2-letter words that you could use in competition Scrabble. But the Pears Cyclopedia was the arbiter of rules of things like drafts and chess, bridge.
Yeah.
Baccarat. And all the other things. So you'll find all sorts of weird things. My 1936 copy of Pears has all the nations that Germany had subsumed with swastikas on them on their flags. Inside the back dust cover, inside the back hardboard cover, there should be flags of the nations of the world somewhere there.
Yeah. I think I moved them around. I just found a map of Israel.
Huh. Well, that looks different now.
Well, it's the Palestinian state, is what I should say. It's a map of everything. Well, it says, this map does not represent Palestine as it was at any one period of history. It shows most of the Palestinian locations mentioned in the text from whatever period. So it's literally like the land of Palestine, and it's a biblical glossary. Yeah.
They'll have a brief history of the world and a list of notable people in alphabetical order as well.
Yeah, and then they just have this one's got a literary companion, so it's explaining away important bits of English novels.
But you have got to remember that it was a British company that was established at the time of empire. So if your copy of Pears Cyclopedia is sufficiently old, it more or less calls everybody else Johnny Foreigner.
Yeah.
It's very racist in a lot of places. In that casual, why doesn't everybody play cricket way that the British have been historically?
Yep. There's a great map of Australia in my copy too.
But as an illustration of how cheap they are, I bought the Pears Cyclopedia for my birth year, 1970-71, and it only cost £3. So like $4.
Yeah, I would say I did a similar thing, although mine has not turned up. I'm annoyed because it hasn't turned up. But I bought the one for my birth year. It cost me more. It cost me $10 in postage, and it was $5 for the book. So yeah, it was and they still haven't sent me the book, which is fucking annoying.
Okay.
But it will turn up.
But I think the so Pears Cyclopedias, if you can get them where you are.
Yeah.
However, I think is it Poor Tom's Almanac in America?
I don't know.
Is it Poor Richard's or something like that? Iron Angel's audio's cut out for some reason. I can't hear him.
I don't know. It doesn't. I'm not getting anything, but I'm using the Poor Tom's Almanac. You think that's the American equivalent?
Something like that.
I've never heard of it, but that doesn't mean anything.
It was the one written by
Poor Richard's Almanac.
Richard's
Poor
Almanac.
Richard's Almanac.
Yeah, it's Poor Richard. I forgot
Yep.
I had the
That was
mic
who was
on
that? It
Bushy
was
Tom, so.
Benjamin Franklin wrote that, wasn't it?
Yeah,
The first one.
Yeah, he adopts the pseudonym of Paul Richard or Richard Saunders for the purpose. It appeared from 1732 to 1758. Sold exceptionally well as a pamphlet and published in the 13 colonies. Print runs reached 10,000 copies. 10,000 number of copies. Print runs 10,000 per year.
Is there a modern equivalent Iron Angel in America?
I'm not actually sure.
Oh, I know why your audio's cutting out. Iron Angel, if you go into your...
I've got it on push to talk. Is it coming through at all?
It is coming through now, but if you go into the settings and you set it to always on in voice and video, there's an input sensitivity. If you switch that
Well,
off...
then we have all kinds of interesting background noises that trip the gate. So.
Ah, right. Okay. It might... Does it generally pick up on your headset then? All right. You'll have to
That's
enunciate. So yeah.
Oh my god, the list of things get opened when you start doing this. But yeah,
Rabbit hole.
that was
Anyway,
mine. That was my first one. What was your next one, Zach? I don't know what your next one was.
I would say the one on my list, if you're looking for a book to read, probably one of my favourite Heinlein books. They shuffle around, but The Moon is a Harsh Mistress by Robert Heinlein. Because it's
Story of Mike.
Yeah, it's the whole thing where this is how you plan a revolution.
Yeah.
And you know, it implies that governments, if you're going to be governed, then that government has a responsibility to you, which is a good lesson. But
there's no point dealing with society if society doesn't want to deal back with you.
Yeah, it's pretty much the story of the American War of Independence, but with, instead of Thomas Paine, you've got Mycroft, the immortal sentient computer that helps them out.
Yeah. No,
and
an important piece of
I like the fact
fiction.
that Thomas Paine was very poorly disregarded personally by Washington. But he was the person that managed to put down the whole "this is why" in a pamphlet that everybody pretty much could read. You've got to love someone that's unpopular wherever they go, even if they start a revolution, is then unpopular with the people that mounted the revolution.
Yeah, the people that did the revolution then say we don't like you anymore.
Just an obstinate, permanent exile of the world. And we need more people like him. It reminds me a lot of my friend Stan. It's the sort of person that has thought about it, doesn't suffer fools gladly, and makes themselves wildly unpopular in the process.
Yep. The way that people should be.
But definitely a good read. There is an amazingly good audiobook from it's the Blackstone audiobook version, which is very, very, very good.
Yep.
But yeah. And the person that reads it, who is American, puts on the most amazing quasi-Russian accent for the whole thing.
Oh,
as narrating it.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Yep.
So yeah, I'd say I read Starship Troopers first, and I got to thank Sean Kennedy for that. And it was.
I'm trying to think. I find it hard to sum up which one of Heinlein's books is my favorite. Starship Troopers I think has to be read in terms of has to be read directly at the same time as reading The Forever Wars by Haldeman, because they reflect so well off one another in terms of both sides of the argument for conflict, and what has to come out of that. One is a glorification, or not as much a glorification. One is the top down approach, and the other one is the I am standing in the mud and I do not like this approach. What the fuck are we doing here? Type thing.
I mean, if we're going on a Heinlein tangent, I'd say Tunnel in the Sky is a good book for
Yeah.
younger readers because there is a lesson in the Heinlein books. They're like what do you call it? Sermons
They're
almost.
they're proper youth fiction type thing. Yeah,
But
yeah.
the lesson,
How Spaceship Will Travel would probably be my favorite younger person one because I just
Yeah.
love the jaunt.
I mean, I
you
like
know.
the fact that Tunnel in the Sky is kind of Lord of the Flies, but they fix things.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is interesting.
Number of the Beast. For kids.
Yeah, Number of the Beast is good. Job, I think out of all the adult ones, I think Job's probably my favorite. Closely followed by I Will Fear No Evil. Is that the name of it? I'm trying to think of the title. My eyesight's shit. It's just there.
One of the things about Number of the Beast is as soon as you present the concept of the fair witness,
Yeah.
every kid you hand that book to goes, "Why don't we fucking have that?"
Yeah.
Now, every
Why,
intelligent child.
Why
I
does
mean,
this not exist?
I like his youth fiction because it expects more of younger people.
Yeah.
Have Spacesuit Will Travel is brilliant because the way he gets the spacesuit
Yeah.
and the way he finds out
being
what
brilliant.
his father actually does is hilarious.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like they've always kind of got money, like the Waltons. But then he finds out his dad could have not only bought him a spacesuit, could have probably rigged a spaceship for him as well. Certainly could have got him on a trip to the moon by just doing a government contract or two in his spare time.
Yeah.
So you get, I'm absolutely certain Heinlein was a massive fan of Mark Twain.
Yes.
He is trying to be.
Oh yeah,
Mark Twain.
it's very Tom Sawyer. It's very Tom Sawyer going down the river type thing, isn't it? Type thing. You know, it's very Huckleberry.
Yeah.
It's a modern day Huckleberry Finn adventure, isn't it? Type thing.
It's Huck Finn in space, let's be honest.
Yeah.
But I love the way that his dad goes, well, I don't know how you're going to enter that competition. I think you need to go away and think about that for a bit.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, you can solve this problem. You're smart enough. You know, I'm going to go crazy. It's like he does the thing at school, and his dad gets all the textbooks, and he goes, "Oh Christ, you know nothing." And he goes, "Yeah, we're gonna have to send you to university basically."
Yeah.
And his dad just keeps going on about how they don't have any money for anything. I was like, well, how the fuck are you going to manage that? It's like, you don't know everything.
Yeah.
But the teaching children to problem solve.
But one of the underlying lessons there is that rich kids should actually fucking learn. And, that one needs to come back.
Yeah.
Because how many goddamn Nepo babies do we have now?
There's the whole country's worth of them. I think it's the highlighted version of there's only two things that children have to learn. Like there's only two things you need a child to actually learn, which is that the only way to get good at anything is by practice, and the only way to do practice is via hard work. And it's like that's the universality of being like doing anything is to get good at doing anything that anything is just practice, and to do the practice you have to do the hard work to do that thing.
Yeah.
So
and
the only commitment you have to
if said child is interested in the thing. If a child wants to learn to play the guitar, nothing you can do to stop them.
Will stop them. Yeah. If that's what they want to do, they will do it. Yeah.
So I mean,
on the other side of that coin, if you don't get them to do that, you end up with fucking Elon Musk.
Yeah.
So, fuck those kids.
Yeah. It's kind of like being in the right place at the right time equates to talent for some reason.
Yeah.
But I would say, having watched some of the Gen Z bods grow up artistically, the way that a lot of my favourite musical artists have just gone straight to YouTube and said to their YouTube audience, right, 1 million of you have watched this video. I want to go on tour. You best buy tickets if you want to come see me. If you don't buy tickets, there's no tour. If you don't buy records or pre-buy, the merch, there's no tour. And literally leveraging their own musical careers off that. One of my favourite artists, Girly, did have a contract with EMI. They tried to tell her how to make her music. She told them to go fuck themselves and managed to fund the tour off the single she wrote about telling her record company to go fuck themselves.
Yeah. The way it should
That
be done.
single
yeah.
that she wrote just went bam, went viral, and then she did a tour, and now I've got 2 of her records on vinyl. And it's like, oh,
That's
genius.
legit punk rock, right
yeah,
there.
it's just badass to just like literally thinking your way out of a paper bag. And I think the same with Ellie Dixon, just because I can't remember who said it. I think it was one of the really big bands that then split with their record company. They just said, you only need 1,000 fans worldwide to make a musical career now.
Yeah.
You know, don't sell the music because they've already got the music if you've put it out on YouTube, but do sell the music in other formats or merch.
Yeah. Do sell the CD, the vinyl, the tape, the T-shirt, the
tote
stickers,
bag.
the da 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 da. Yeah. Do sell all of the other stuff that you were going to have to produce anyway. You know, for the adoration type thing.
And I've seen a few bands leverage music careers just off, and it's just off the fact that they can get to X number of people on the internet. Absurdly.
Well, I'm hoping that works for blacksmithing. We're going to find out.
Yeah. Well, you need we need to come up with an easy to produce product that we can overpay for, like the Linus Tech Tip screwdriver, and then we will buy it and just fund everything off that.
Yeah.
I'm on that.
I need wedges. I need well, they're called welding wedges in Australia. This is going to completely change it.
Well,
they're called welding wedges in Australia.
If you can make,
I need some, but I haven't got a press, so it's like I need some more of these to actually do something I want to make. And I'm like, fuck, I only know one person, and he's in the States.
I'd buy
Make some of those, but it's like shipping is impressive.
A lightweight embossed splitting wedge.
Yeah. No, these
like
are
really small
these are used in industry to like lift up panels, like lift up boiler making panels, so you can align them to something. But I want to use them as the pins for a bunch of bookshelves. But yeah, the thing that keeps me awake at night making bookshelves out of reclaimed materials and making them in a way in which they come apart and then sit flat on the ground. Yeah. That's okay. That's an aside.
Yeah.
All right, Angel, do you have a something or other to add to our list of things since you're here today?
I missed the beginning, so I don't know what our topic is.
Okay,
our topic is any piece of media that's interesting.
So basically, any book, movie, audio, song, anything that you would say you would pass on to someone.
Alexander Weiger, The Making of Tools.
Wow, yeah. That's some hardcore prepper book.
It's beyond that. It's what did it come out? 1968, something like that. It's all hand illustrated. You've got 2 cover plates that are in color to show you things like tempering colors, that kind of stuff. It shows you how to build an incredibly primitive forge. Basically, that book will save you thousands of fucking dollars.
Yeah, that sounds like a proper Heinlein, research book.
There's a weird Heinlein-esque thing to it. It is somewhere between Heinlein and Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance.
Yeah.
It's just kind of, it's pretty straight ahead, but there's this undertone that's just a little off. Like a lot of the stuff back in that era was. There's a woodworking version, but I can't come up with the name of it.
Right.
And I lost it in the fire, so I can't look it up.
Yeah, that sounds like an awesome book to have.
I was talking to Phoenix last night about, there's a book out there. It's a very pretty illustrated, but it's very fantasy. How to Rebuild a Society After the Apocalypse or something like that. It's like a $170 book.
Yeah. It's called The Book. It's like the title is The Book: How to Rebuild Everything After. Yeah.
That's the one.
Yeah.
I've seen that advertised on YouTube Shorts.
Yes.
It's cute, it's fun, it's at best a Wikipedia article on how things work, and the illustrations are fantasy. If you approach it as if, okay, this is like 3rd edition D&D, that's what armor's supposed to look like. Yeah, okay, you're just fine. You can't do shit with that book. There was no, you seriously can't. You can't do fuck all with that book. But it gives you the concept that these things exist.
Mm.
These are the portions of that thing to research. Not bad for that.
Mm.
Expensive, but not bad for that. Back in the 70s or 80s, I think it was the 80s, there was a discussion about condensing all the Firefox books together into one giant volume that would have contained everything. And then they wanted to add in stuff from like the SAS handbook
Yeah.
and a couple other things. Basically, so you had this one giant ass coffee table book that was how to be a functional, competent human.
Mm.
And that never came to be. Otherwise, that would be the top of my list.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. I had on my list way down the line Firefox books.
There was
if you're into
I completely agree.
Yeah, if you're into handcraft at all,
Yeah.
or if you're into food preservation, or if you're into anything involving just being knowledgeable about crops,
Yeah.
seriously, hands down.
No, they are superbly. The Firefox books are superbly written. I had a couple of trade publications on my list as well for today as well. For later on, I'll get back to that. I'll get back to that thought you had.
I toss in the John Seymour, The Complete Book of Self-Sufficiency, purely because it's very easy to get, because it was like a multi-million bestseller back in the 70s. And if you've ever seen the TV program The Good Life, which is a very English program, I don't know if Iron Angel will have ever seen it.
I have, but Zach knows that I'm in love with
It was a sitcom about a guy's 40th birthday, and he's just like a very bored office worker, and he decides to go self-sufficient in Surbiton, which is like a suburb of London. So it's just like this really boring London street of houses with a self-sufficient farm out back.
So this is basically what you did with like Back and Beyond and that.
But the sitcom starts with him being given that exact book, John Seymour's Complete Guide to Self-Sufficiency, and he builds a farm in his garden.
I was not aware that it existed.
Yeah.
It's
very funny. It's very sort of 70s British sitcom. Nothing really happens. It's just funny situations happen every week. It's a little bit sarcastic because at the time it was being written, people were literally leaving and trying to start communes badly in America.
Yeah.
It's not like the 60s in America.
I vaguely recall a BBC Two documentary about a bunch of idiots that they took out into the bush and turned loose, and the first thing they did was dug their well below their septic pit and a bunch of other stupid shit like that. What the hell was that one?
That's like the 1960s. That's the 1960s Neolithic Britain, isn't it?
Yeah, I can't remember what it was called, but it was hilarious because they set up an Iron Age community with 20th century expectations, and that was never going to work because it was all university students and stuff. They just lost their shit with each other. And it was entirely
the list of what not to do.
Yeah.
I don't know how they all survived.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. I think the BBC had to intervene quite often to keep them alive.
I would have to imagine that basically it was... Because it has the feeling of the first reality show. I have to imagine it was the one show that invariably, when they started doing things like Survivor and other reality bullshit, they would look back on and went, "Don't do that."
Yeah.
Yeah. There's the.
I've given away loads of copies of that book. Yeah.
Yeah. That's the recycled DK version, which is, I don't know, bigger than A4.
Oh, you're posh. But it's just the hardback version.
It's got the like there's the how to make butter, and it's got the great illustrations that work better than pictures. You can tell a book that's about how to
have that,
and literally like how to explaining what you're looking for when you're looking for a spiked harrow versus the plow harrow versus the plow disc harrow, etc., etc., etc. How they use what they do. It starts from zero principles type thing. There's a page of that'll get us banned off vegan TikTok. Says the vegan holding up the dead animal carcass.
Yeah, it's everything from when to plant stuff, where to lay it out, how to rotate it, it goes all the way up to solar and wind power, which for the 70s was quite forward looking. It's literally, if you find yourself and like 2 or 3 other people and you find a small holding or a farm, this is how to kickstart it all back in. It's
Yep.
it is a very competent book.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, not read thoroughly or properly by incompetent people quite a lot of the time. But it's dirt cheap. Seriously, if you cannot find it, I'll dig you up a copy. I'll send you a copy, and then I'll have to buy another copy because it's the most given away book I have.
That's a good choice.
Yep.
The thing is, that's the exact book you use for story time for stupid people,
Yes.
which
Yes.
needs to exist.
Mm.
I just have to come up with a better name for it.
I quite like story time for stupid people.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it's hard to
that's
sit
the
someone
figure
down to
today.
listen to story time for stupid people when they realise if they're listening to it, they are by default regarded as stupid. In the same way as
Yeah,
I
we'll
failed
see.
to go down well when
We'll
they did
see.
when they did the Occupy movement in Leeds. I did not go down well.
Yep.
This all needs
Let's
to be
do this.
different. Round up some smart people and put them in a village. And they all
Yep.
got offended because they assumed that I meant that they were all not smart.
Well, if the shoe fits,
Well, I know if you assume that if you say round up some smart people and you immediately count yourself out the smart people without any further comment, you're probably right.
Yeah, that's you.
You know, so yeah, about the same way as it didn't go down well at the anarchist convention. I don't go down well in crowds of normal people.
you can safely fix the tangent alert too long on one subject now. Also,
Yeah, I
We're
think
off
so.
on a
Yeah,
different
we're good.
tangent.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, but I would say we can put it under competent books, and there are some. We'll figure out a way to distribute a list. Because
Yep.
But yeah.
It's a Wikipedia. It is the Wikipedia article. Oh, there's that. I've got books on both sides of everything, so it's like wandering around the house trying to find the next
Okay.
book.
So what's your next
The,
book, Harlequin? What's your next contribution?
I'm gonna go to the list. So I had these are gonna go in random order then. Now, I'm gonna say that the series of books, and I'm gonna say so. There's Make Electronics. I think it's 1, 2, 3. I think I'm 3 now. And the like Guide to Home Illustration Chemistry Experiments. There's also a biology one now. They're not.
It's just like that's just like yeah, for us. But yeah, the chemistry and biology ones sound like like this as Exhibit A.
Yeah, very much.
A, B,
But
and C.
I think it's the
relating
I think
to
to
the
me
explosion.
so there's a book called the Golden Book of Wonderful Chemistry Experiments from like 1951 or other type thing, but it's not written in such a way that you can read it and understand what is going on, right? It is not a science textbook in ways of like like you could have quite easily composed like any first year well written from a liberal arts college chemistry biology science textbook, etc., type thing. I just picked out the Make ones because I had copies of them. I've got copies of other bits and pieces, but I think they're superbly well written because they're written for an audience that hasn't been to university or isn't going to university, but also they have like the home chemistry experiments and like how to do electronics is like it's like the equivalent information of like the big gold book of like electronics in like 4 books, but then it explains to you. For the most part, I disliked. So my notes were, I fucking hated the Make magazine. It was a pile of shit.
Yeah,
right? The magazine was completely, utterly trash. There was nothing useful in it. Don't steal it. Don't bother to buy it otherwise. Type thing. I don't even think it's still in print, so don't even worry about it.
I think it's PDF theftable.
Yeah, but the O'Reilly print books on the were such that you could go in it and say, how do I make I want to make this thing out of whatever's, and it would basically get you handheld to the point where like you could design the circuit and then build the thing to make the circuits, which is if you want to do some radio stuff or you want to do whatever type thing, it explains to you all of the processes of how to do that thing from not only like just follow this not just follow this guide and then you end up with one product. It's actually explaining the process behind what's going on, which I think is important. I think the same with the chemistry books. It's giving you the level of chemistry that I think everyone should have, the level of biology to understand what's just occurring within your own body, within your own systems, and how it works, type thing. And there's some great little experiments in them, type things. So it's it's my homeschooling. It's my homeschooling books. come to
Except for
full
the,
pay
I
again.
had the golden book on chemistry, and it doesn't cover safety very well.
No,
That's,
because
that's something
because
that's really needed.
yeah, and it wasn't like you can read it, and it's like the last step, right? Go and read it when you have the understanding of what these chemicals will do, how you should behave with them, how they need to be stored, and all the rest of it type thing.
What
But
a fume
it's not a
hood
safe book.
is.
You can't suggest
No.
and say give this book to children, it's safe. But I can turn around and say, give your teenager a copy of the Make Chemistry book series or the Make Electronics book series, and then say, what do you need to do the next experiment? Like, you will have fun doing this. This will, like, lead you to the important work of practice and hard work, and you'll get something enjoyable and fun out of it, type thing. But yeah, I haven't found a
said
for all
Harlequin
my
to the
chemistry.
judge.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean,
Yeah.
like the early stories of like, I don't know if you've ever seen the Mickey Rooney movie. It's a black and white film, Young Thomas Edison, where he nearly
No.
blows up a bridge and reinvents
I vaguely
nitroglycerin.
recall this.
Yeah. I mean, I'll throw one into the mix that you might not have seen, but it's very worth looking up. A couple of TV series from the 1970s in Britain. The first one was called Now Get Out of That. And the other one was called The Great Egg Race. And both of them were teams of engineers being basically given the contents of the average British garden shed to make things. And the great thing about The Great Egg Race is they didn't do anything with eggs on the actual TV show, apart from there was a nationwide competition to transport an egg the furthest and the fastest.
Yep.
So people were designing go-karts for eggs and rockets for eggs and all sorts of crazy shit. It was basically, they really liked the British inventiveness, and it was an attempt to kickstart that again. Which, consider when you think in the next decade, the British computer industry just went nuts. Not in any useful way, but in a typical British inventor way.
Yeah.
Where somebody in America invented the Z80 and people just ran with it.
But I think you're disparaging there. I think you're disparaging what it led to, because you end up with something like the BBC like microcomputer, and you end up with the ZX Spectrum, but that ends up feeding into an awful lot of stuff that, like, you could say the direct outcome of that was something like the Raspberry Pi actually being invented and then mass produced in the UK, right?
But also
like that
things
wouldn't
like
exist without
people being inspired to be scientists or engineers.
Yeah, completely. Yeah.
That were then
Now,
teaching.
was the Great Egg Race the thing that inspired all the physics classes trying to build basically an egg safety cage deal?
Yeah.
The higher you dropped it, the more points you got.
Yeah.
Did that come out of that?
Yeah.
Because we did that in the States.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that was a huge deal in the States.
Yeah. So
we didn't have the actual show, so it was without context. What the
Without
hell
context,
is this?
yeah.
Well, they built such things as the guy that presented it was Professor Heinz Wolf, who was like a more primitive version of Werner von Braun, and he would set these teams, and some of them were darts teams, but some of them were from British Nuclear Fuels. So you get 4 people together and you'd apply to be on the show, and then they pit you against someone wildly inappropriate, like Cambridge Physics Department deans.
Yeah.
And shit like that. And the things that you were asked to invent that you had about 2 hours to do were they had to build a hovercraft. Or, they knew that you weren't going to build the hovercraft. What they thought was you get far enough through to it to give an impressive showing. One of them was Heinz Wolf said, when I was a boy, I really wished I was a monkey so I could have a prehensile tail, so I'd have an extra hand to eat a banana with. Go. And they're like, where do you even begin with that shit? So it was really funny. And Now Get Out of That was a series of university students trying to transport.
I have a plan for the tail.
Yeah, see, it's one of those things. They pretended that they were trying to transport a nuclear bomb overland. And they would show them various, like you couldn't drop it. And they give you various bits of equipment. It was based on the British Navy's officer training. There's a few specific bits in moving dangerous cargo with none of the right equipment. and they were going cross country with this nuclear fucking bomb, putting it across rivers.
These need to come. These shows need to come back.
Yeah.
Except for now, because we have bird flu in the States, you can combine them.
Mm.
Now you have to get a truck of like 2,000 dozen eggs across country without fucking them up.
Yeah, and I think there was one called
without getting bird flu in the fucking into any cows in the fields beside them type thing. Yeah,
It's called Wild Science, where they just dumped some scientists on a Mediterranean island.
Yeah,
and had them build the weirdest shit.
Yeah, Wild Science. Yeah, Wild Science was a tie-up between Open University and the BBC.
Yeah.
In the 90s and then early 2000s, because it was on when I came to the UK.
They're like on a deserted guano factory, I think. Island.
There's one, yeah. They get sort of like dumped everywhere, and there's a chemist and a physicist and then a biologist and a engineer type thing. There's a group of there's half a dozen of, and there's no one who isn't a competent person within the realms of within the realms of science
and
engineering
they made,
type thing.
Cameras and photographic.
They made
film,
cameras. They made a radio transmitter. They made they made
nothing.
and then sort of things like one of them had to make mozzie repellent, for example. So I was like,
what do you have in the local?
The biologist was like, what do we have on this island, on a Crete island type thing? What do we have in terms of like herbology type thing? What could I go around and find that and then make a still to make the essential oil to then be able to like dilute it down to make the fucking to make mozzie repellent type thing? It was a fascinating TV show. I'm pretty sure they're all. I'm pretty sure they're all on archive.org, not all on YouTube, but I will add them to this.
So TV shows that are heavy on the figuring shit out. Not like Scrap Heap Challenge, because at a certain point Scrap Heap Challenge becomes, I don't even know what you're talking about. Or it becomes a motor engineering thing rather than anything else. But the way things like the Great Egg Race just made you think about solving problems was just invaluable. So it was another one of the Thursday night lineup that was awesome back when I was a kid. Thursday nights was Star Trek, Tomorrow's World, The Great Egg Race, and sometimes Blake 7 if you were lucky. Just I didn't go anywhere on Thursdays. Me and my dad would sit and play chess and watch TV. So yeah, British TV used to be good. It's shit now.
Yeah, TV used to be good. This is the problem. When the educate and inform part of the TV broadcasting license was required, then it was required. It worked.
But I think that what you need to make people creative, like a generation or so back, I mean, we're thinking about our grandparents and how our grandparents would make it if they could, rather than buy it.
Yeah.
But what we had was the 1940s and 50s, so our grandparents were making things. And in America, unfortunately, it's one generation before that. It's the 20s and 30s, where that is the generation that just made it rather than buy it.
Yeah.
So you and in Australia, importing stuff was super difficult. So you probably like one generation back, everybody made everything.
Yeah. There's a certain level of skill. We'll come to this because it's in one of my books. But we'll come to this. We'll come to this. That realization of where the documentation lies behind it, type thing. Yeah.
So, your turn, Iron Angel.
Iron Angel, have you got another one we can go into?
It can be fiction. Doesn't have to be a factual thing so much.
The problem is most of the fiction I read is kind of obtuse and obscure, so that does make it harder to find.
The point is to sort of bring it to people. So,
honestly, this is going to sound stupid, but first edition Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah. No, absolutely. That's a great idea. Yeah.
Half of the dumb shit I know how to do was because, we're sitting around going, well, okay, what is the pressure wave of burning lamp oil? Can you actually blow a window out with it? I don't know. Look it up. We're sitting in the library. It's right there on the shelf. Find out.
Yeah. The engineering books is there. Yeah. What does this do? Yeah.
Yeah. And because of playing D&D, I read the entire Encyclopedia Britannica cover to cover, all of them.
Yeah.
Except for the index. I didn't read the index, but and like literally I went through and read the entire fucking Encyclopedia Britannica because you can use this shit somewhere.
Yeah.
And Why did I get into blacksmithing? Because we're sitting around a table rolling dice, and I went,
I
"Wouldn't
really
it be
want a
cool to
sword.
have a sword?"
Because I want the outcome of this thing. Yeah, yeah.
I'll tell you what, if you wander around wearing a
Here
sword
we
for
are.
about a day and then you take it off, you miss it for about a week.
Yeah.
Fuck yes. My
Yep.
my newest stupid thing. I got to get back in shape because clearing up the wreckage at the shop, building a shop here, rebuilding the shop there, all this kind of stuff. I'm old. I'm out of shape. I smoke. I'm starting to wear my armor again.
Mm.
I'm
Yeah.
throwing on 20 pounds of electric fence wire made into mail, and I have that because I played D&D in 1979.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But Dungeons and
So-
Dragons is one of those things that you have to solve problems in a storytelling concept. If you know more stuff, you can imagine more things. And
Yeah.
that's
But it's
cyclic.
specifically the earlier editions or the throwback, like basic fantasy role playing, that kind of stuff, because you don't have all the special skills and feats and all that kind of shit.
Yeah,
comes
because
down to-
it's based around. And I remember the rule. I remember the rule being in the Red Book series, the basic series at Red Book, and it's like, if you can learn about this thing yourself, then your dungeon master will accept the fact that then therefore you can go and do, your character can go and do this thing. So it's the
That is
greatest
it right
principle of
there.
like hard work and practice, because you have to go and do the hard
gives
work
you
and the
an edge.
practice to give you
That
the
is
edge.
it right there. And
know.
half the time you learn this stuff well enough you can actually do it in
Do
the
it,
physical
yeah.
world.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember there being an interesting article in White Dwarf before it was owned by Games Workshop. Games Workshop
Oh
was
damn,
was
that's a
a
ways
was,
to go.
was a company that advertised in White Dwarf
And they
originally,
didn't own White Dwarf.
and now they own it. But in White
Yeah.
Dwarf, there was a really good article about if you have a character with the intelligence of 3, how do you play that? Because they just assumed, this is the brilliant thing, they just assumed that everybody that played Dungeons and Dragons was smart. So how do you play a low intelligence character? That was a 4-page article on how to adjust for that.
3 would be incredibly brutally difficult. It's 7 where, like 6 or 7 where it starts to get a little more interesting and weird because you have interacted with those people.
Yeah.
Literally, you can walk out the door right now and find
And-
one of those
and
people
find that
in 15
person.
minutes.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right now.
Yeah.
That's a lot more challenging.
Mm.
They know just enough to not realize they don't know anything.
Yeah.
Well, if somebody goes, I don't know, then you should put them in charge. Somebody really genuinely
is
says,
a-
I don't know.
yeah.
That's a good sign. That means they're going to
Yeah.
listen to the
That
people
is-
that do know.
That is actually a filter that like some different companies, like if you're going to work for a small company, there's a, I don't know why that popped up. There's a couple different, little bitty workshops around here that do whatever walks in the door. And when I was in high school, I went in and it was the only machine shop in town. Literally, we had a town of 200 and something people, and there's a machine shop in the middle of town. And I walked in and went, "Hey, I want to learn to weld. I want to learn to run machines. Can I get a job here?"
Yeah.
And he says, "How do you run a lathe?" "I don't know. Teach me."
Yeah.
And that was what got me hired.
Yep.
And, like you said, I don't know was a hell of a filter.
Yeah.
You may not necessarily put him in charge, but that's one for consideration.
Yeah.
Yep.
This person at least knows they can learn or is aware.
They're
of
at least
things
willing.
they
They're at
don't
least
know.
willing to question the fact they don't know something, and then how do I learn this skill? Zach,
Precisely.
be warned. The world can see you typing into your Discord chat.
All right.
Just so you know where
Yeah,
it's occurring.
It popped up. So
Yeah, but I mean, there's
That's
no.
okay.
It's not like it. That's a visual window of the thing. It's not got anybody's
Yeah.
name on it. It was just
That's okay.
I don't like leaving people hanging if I'm online. But it was just a kind of
That's all
I'm
right.
kind of recording a thing.
I'm doing things. Mad people are talking to me.
Yeah.
No, it was more so you're aware, because I didn't know whether you were aware.
No, I realised as
Um,
soon I've got the OBS window and I saw it change. It was like,
Change. Yep. Yep.
I'm too
That's okay.
British to ignore someone saying hi.
Yep. Yeah.
It,
Whereas I still have got unanswered telephone calls
Instead
from
of-
before
instead
Christmas
of-
that I
ins-
haven't returned.
instead of English as a foreign language, English as a disability 101.
Yeah. Yep. Yep.
The fact that we don't really learn anybody else's language. Yeah, shit like that.
A complete tangent that ties into the English thing that you'll enjoy. You'll want to dig up on YouTube C90 Adventures just for fun. It isn't terribly educational. There's some very pretty scenery, but it's not terribly educational. It's an excellent example of what not to do.
Right.
It's right now. Last night he just did the third episode of taking a toy Jeep, basically a little lawnmower engine Jeep, and trying to drive it from somewhere in Utah to Area 51 in Nevada. And because you're going through the mountains in winter, because he's an idiot and he's very British, he went, well, I'll put tank tracks on it. This goes badly.
Yeah, I'm imagining that. Yeah.
It's a lot of fun. We used to have a lot of build shows, and they were mostly fake. The Monster Garage and all that. They were just fucking terrible.
Yeah.
But they got people interested.
Yeah, it's enough to spur you on to. It's enough to spur you on that if you were going to get off the couch and do something, you might have done it. Yeah.
Well, that's where we're at with blacksmithing right now. Forged and Fire has gotten a lot of people interested, but unfortunately, it's gotten a lot of people interested without being aware of things like fire is hot.
Yeah. Within like this is how you run oxyacetylene tanks so you don't blow yourself the fuck up.
See, the mad thing is
the one that gets me, the one that I will like instantaneously dislike a video and then put a snarky fucking ass comment is the number of people that I see welding without fucking safety equipment on, like not wearing fucking long sleeves and gloves, and they're fucking welding. And it's like the first thing that was beaten around my fucking head when I walked into a welding shop is, if you're not wearing a boiler suit, you're not welcome in this space. And if you're not wearing a pair of gloves when you pick up the tool that you're going to weld with, your hands won't be there probably within inside of a day, but probably like within inside your lifetime, you're going to die of skin cancer. You probably shouldn't do that. It's a really fucking dumb thing to do. Don't kill yourself doing that.
Yeah.
The number of people I see on fucking YouTube welding without like the most minimal fucking like safety apparel type thing. And I am the person that when someone is welding on like a fucking factory site and they don't have the fucking shades up on the fucking factory site, I will go in and call the fucking work cover on the fucking site, because you're literally hurting people around you.
Yeah.
Not only that, you're also causing a fucking danger to yourself and others, because you're obviously not following the very limited safety standards we have in fucking Australia that make it fucking safe for you to do that operation on a fucking job site type thing. It does my nut.
However,
I fucking hate it. But yeah,
I am really curious to know what Australian OSHA is like. This is a whole other topic we need to cover someday.
we need to cover sometime.
It's a 5-word sentence. It'll be right, mate.
Yeah.
It'll be right, mate.
Yeah,
You can
it'll
do that
be
in
right,
props.
mate. Basically,
Where's
it basically covers it. It covers it in terms of like what jobs we'll try and expect you to do.
Yeah.
Because we have such a list, because we have such a long history
It
of.
talks about minimum
briefly-
lengths for your denim shorts.
Yeah.
You don't want it to actually disappear up your crack if you fart, mate. But anything longer than that's fine. Make sure you're wearing your flip flops.
Your stubbies have to have more than a 2-inch gusset on the leg seam, so they don't disrupt your ass crack. So you don't end up with
it's a throwback to political correctness gone back wrong. But if you're going to do anything around the workshop, make sure you've got an unlit cigarette hanging from your lip.
Just dangling out the side.
Just hanging straight down, and then you'd be union right, mate.
Yeah.
I would not make it there.
Yeah. When you say ordinary people and blacksmithing, if you go to EMF, that there is a blacksmithing company there that has got like a series of anvils and forges and stuff, and they'll set up like 20 anvils and a couple of like a forge every 4 anvils so they can heat shit up, and round the clock almost until it's not light enough to do blacksmithing safely. From the moment they open at about 9 in the morning, that place is full of people making shit. Making it with following all the safety precautions, because they're nerds. If you do this, you go. It's an if-then gate. If you fuck around, you're out. And everybody goes, no, but I want the thing. I want to make the
Yeah,
thing.
Which
so
is
therefore I have to
fantastic.
follow the rules.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the thing is the rules are not hard to follow. You know, the turn your brain on and do occupational health and safety, do work health safety, is not. It's like this is just like don't do stupid shit. You will die. It will hurt. Dying is painful. Don't
Yeah.
do that shit. It sucks. Like, you know, all the steps towards death hurt. Don't do that shit.
Yeah.
You know, no matter what.
On pain of
And
instant
I speak
death.
to, and I speak
Yeah.
as someone who has suffered terrible fucking occupational health safety damage from being at work in multiple fucking fields, in multiple fucking jobs, and now I can't. And now I can hardly fucking work. You know, because of it.
Yeah, Dungeons
Yeah,
Dragons, to bring it back to its original thing, Dungeons Dragons
Yes.
is a great idea.
Yeah.
That is
Yep.
superb. Because it's all
Or
problem
it-
solving. It's
Any
what,
of the basic fantasy role playing, because it's free. Just go to the website, download the books, off you go.
yeah.
It's free. Perfect price. Go do that.
Yep.
I remember one really good book. The first role playing game I played. Hi, Digital Whiskey. The first role playing game I played was Tunnels and Trolls because it was much, much cheaper. It was literally produced on a photocopier with a piece of coloured photocopier paper around the outside and stapled in the middle. But it did have
book manufacturer.
people wrote some notable supplements to it because it was very fast and loose with the rules. There weren't many. It was more about storytelling and creating a world as quickly as possible. But there was a supplement book that had no stats in it. You were free to make up exactly how lethal this stuff was, and it was called Grimtooth's Book of Traps.
There are 4 of them.
Yeah, those were awesome.
Okay. There are actually 3. 3 never came out. 1, 2, and 4 came out. I had them all at the shop. Lost them in the fire.
Oh wow! But Grimtooth's Book of Traps was just hilarious. It was a read on its own. I bet it's out there somewhere. I bet if I
Oh yeah, it will be.
And the thing about that is, some of those you could actually physically build because
yeah, that was pretty scary. You
Yeah.
did think about I could make that. I liked the complete
Well-
party marmalizer where it literally killed
Yeah.
up to 6 characters in one go.
we did the crossbow 13 trap with Nerf darts. Basically just a bunch of Nerf guns. So you walk in, except for instead of having a giant crossbow open up the pits where they fire out from, we built it into a wall, and you open the door and it fires basically 30 darts into the room. It was fantastic.
But it was just the illustrations was just so good. And there it is. Got it. It's out there on PDF. I found it in like
It's
30
on the
seconds
internet.
flat. But yeah, just hilarity ensued. I think what was the game?
I've got to AFK for a moment. Please continue amongst yourself while I go to the bathroom.
What was turn off your mic. Leave your headset.
Yeah, good luck with that.
Well, come on, that's the fun bit. We usually have to be extra for that.
Where was I going? Yeah, there was a game like was it Murder or Assassin or something like that? Where you play it in real time.
Okay, there is a game under each of those names. Is it the one where you're hunting other players,
Yeah.
or is it the one where it's basically like you're playing Clue?
No, it's the one where you're actually hunting people in the real world and you've got a certain amount of rules of engagement, so you can post someone like a poison package.
That's Assassin.
Assassin.
Yep.
A
Used
game
be
to get
played
you
in,
arrested every single time now, but that ran
Exactly
rampant
the
on
problem.
college campuses.
Exactly. It ran heavily on college campuses in the U.S. in the 80s, and they decided eventually that you could no longer use projectile weapons because one of the guys pulled out those little dart pistols, the little tiny ass suction cup darts, in a library, and the security guard freaked out and tried to shoot him and managed to hit like bookshelves and stuff like that. So I think it was Boston was where that started. That basically it got banned, and they had to change the rules to the point where you had a bunch of clothespins with your name on them, and you had to clip them onto the other people that you were assassinating to prove that you had contact on them. And that eventually got picked up by the natives at powwows and is still played to this day.
Well, it's a very effective way of recreating Counting Coup, isn't it?
That's exactly what it is. They basically went, wait a minute, we've played this for 1,000 years, you know, and so you'll see the kids playing it to this day at powwows. Yeah, that's still around.
Yeah, I need to bring that back. That would be a great game to bring back at something like EMF.
It works really well in like a convention setting where it's enclosed. You want to, like, EMF would work great. You want an enclosed environment because when it gets into the streets, that's when shit goes really wrong.
Well, EMF is very well separated from the real world for 4 days. It's just a big field. They rent the entire park, close it off. There's people on every gate.
We have the uncool version of EMF. We have Electric Forest. And they decided to play it there one year, and the new hippies, Nuevo hippies, got all bent because that's hostile, man. It's bringing down my vibe. Look up Electric Forest sometime. You'll love the lighting. It's an EDM festival, but it's the EDM that I don't like. So it's not like you know, goth club EDM. It's like Skrillex played a bunch of years. I got to hear Skrillex. I was 4 miles away, but I got to hear Skrillex, you know, entire set a couple times.
Yeah, my mate Jason DJs there.
Not a fan
every time, and he's always asking me to go and be his +1. I think I should go the next time.
At Electric Forest here in the States?
No, at the EMF.
Okay, yeah, you should.
But I mean, I've been to EMF a couple of times, but they're always sort of asking for ideas for things to do because whole families go, so it's pretty family friendly. It is nice to see whole families of nerds just geeking out.
Yeah,
robots that people have brought along and stuff like that.
So, I mean, there's actually a bunch of stuff you've already done in the past that you could bring back up. All the stuff you did for Back and Beyond, I mean, you could literally teach a wild camping course.
Oh, well, my ex-girlfriend managed to get a free ticket to EMF for doing something that I taught her, which was hilarious. It was just making a mess penny stove out of it. And everybody loved it because it was recycling something in the immediacy of it. So bring an old tin can.
Yeah, you could do stuff like that easily. I know that that Kev had posted a bunch of stuff on basically building tin can stoves, and I think didn't he teach on that at EMF one year?
I think he might have done.
Kevin is a geek. Yeah. We need to get him into these because you know.
Yeah, it's got to line up with shift. That's the problem. It's lining up with everyone being here.
Well, you know, if it's not obvious, if you do see the video on YouTube, feel free to add your own comments on what you'd add.
Yes, someone will read them out. Probably.
It's technically going out live, but most people watch it after the fact. I think if anybody watches it. So that was good, D&D, because it makes you curious. I would say to add to that and adding to the tangent, just a nice thing that somebody did once. Back in the day when Geek and Sundry was new, Felicia Day did going and learning RPG skills segment on Geek and Sundry. So she went and did parkour, she went and did blacksmithing, archery, stuff like that. And that's kind of fun to watch somebody, you know, doing a because she was very famously into D&D when she was on Buffy. And then it just rolled into, why don't you go and do that? Because she didn't get many jobs afterwards. So she basically created her own internet TV station, which was a very good response to there not being the kind of TV you want. Which is why we're all here. You know, mostly because of things like patrolling, where somebody just did those things, or some of them, or enough of them to make you go, right, I'm going to go and do stuff. So whose turn is it next?
Yours.
Oh.
Well, Digital Whiskey showed up, so
yeah, Digital Whiskey turned up. So make
if you
Digital
sharp
Whiskey do
in
it.
the chat, it's Digital Whiskey's turn.
Oh, we were supposed to do something.
We're
You're
basically
supposed to give us. You're
you know,
supposed to give
like
us a
last
form
time,
of media
a
that you have
form
to
of
share.
media
It's the same
that-
as last time.
to be shared, because we're not going to run out of it anytime soon.
Yeah, well, I'm currently diving down a fucking rabbit hole for the dumbest reasons. We'll talk about that for a bit.
Yeah.
This is my
One of
fault, isn't it?
Oh no! Absolutely not. But I'll blame it on you if it makes you happy. One of the problems that I have is that those high-vis construction jackets, sometimes they have a hood in them, but they're all shite. Or at least the ones that I've gotten. So my dumb idea is, hey, you know what? Maybe I can make something short that I can put over it that has a hood on it. And if you go look on the internet, there's like the medieval versions of like a London hood or a Viking hood,
maybe better.
and they're all nice. But the problem is, if you're outside in the winds, they're gonna go away.
Okay, I've got
So-
the answer, and it is historical. And you could probably make it out of modern materials and make it more comfortable. It's called a Montero. It's from Spain. Montero. It's basically
Is that
stiff
is
version
that
of a
the
balaclava.
tabard with it?
No, it's literally just
okay.
a hat. It folds up into kind of a Robin Hood hat, but it folds down into a hood. And they're generally made of wool or felt. And they are really warm. Very popular in England during the English Civil War. Really easy to make.
Yeah,
It's
the
about
thing is, can't spell it out in chat because I'm horrible with that stuff. Anyway, the thing with that is I don't necessarily want a separate hood, a separate something put on my head. I just want a hood that I can easily add to any sort of jacket, sort of.
Mm.
So it's like a separate article of clothing that is somewhat attachable to something else.
Mm.
So
Well, I'm sure you could figure out
like,
how to seal a coat collar around a Montero.
yeah.
There's a medieval garment that is basically a very narrow tabard. It comes down so that the opening in the jacket is basically exposing that has a hood on it. And I cannot remember what it's called. It's related to a ganache, but it's not.
The leader pipe?
It's the lyra pipe is connected to it, but it's not the same garment.
Yeah. Well, the closest thing that I have found that's like something that makes me go, yes, that's maybe what I want, is, and again, this is so fucking annoying about that particular site, something on Pinterest that points eventually to something on DeviantArt from like, what was it, 2012? That's only one picture, and I'm thinking, yeah, I just need to add a hood and a zipper to that and make it in high vis, and that's all good. That's what I want. Hang on, can I the talk has chat thing?
Yeah, I've switched on the chat in the thing, but
yeah, off to the side there's a chat.
Yeah, that's basically it.
That's the thing I'm thinking of. Yeah, except for it has basically, a medieval archer's hood attached to it. That's the thing I'm thinking of.
Yeah, the problem is I know what I want and I don't know the words to put into the internet to give me results.
Yeah, that's the it's always the issue.
Yeah.
I'm gonna mention this person.
Unfortunately,
I've got to find a link.
Oh, good. Yeah, you're going to run into that quite often because other people don't know what it's called either, so they give it some other name.
Yeah. And another thing that I have, which is something from the Internet Archive that I stumble across that I haven't read up or anything, but it looks interesting, is the Thornton International System of Garment Cutting 2nd edition. book about making clothes, and I'll post a link to the Internet Archive in the chatty chat, and it looks interesting. And the reason why I found it on page 132, it has something about making hoods, and before that something about shoulder capes. Yeah, that's what I'm diving into.
How do I not have this already? Huh.
Well, you
Phoenix
might
is
already
into.
have it.
Well, we don't actually. Phoenix is into, a lot of late Victorian, early Edwardian Edwardian clothing, and has collected. Like I've had to print out and bind like 20 of these, and somehow we don't have that one. So there's another one. Thank you.
Well, that's the Montero cap. It's basically a 17th century baseball cap that you pull down the different coloured part, and it turns into basically a hood. And it does go like a long way down the back of your neck. But it sort of baseball caps straight out of it when you don't need it. Very popular when worn with, and I don't know whether it's an anachronistic name for it, just like the simplest, half sphere of steel that fits your noggin called a secret. So you'd wear the Montero cap and sort of like it would hold the secret onto your head basically. So it was like early health and safety wear for pikemen, because not everybody got issued with steel helmets.
Good God, I can go off on a tangent about those for hours. I know those real well. I've made several.
Well, we're not going to stop you.
No, we're doing other stuff.
Yeah.
So.
I need more screen real estate.
I've got my recycled 27-inch gaming monitor to the right here, where everything is living, and I've just got Discord on here.
Yeah, I need to put my computer on the desk rather than putting my computer in the middle of the lounge room, where I was like, I'll just sit on the lounge room floor when I do this. And because I don't have the desk, I haven't got the extra monitors plugged in. But I have the extra computer sitting beside me that I can't transfer stuff in between. It's really useful. Yep.
And this is why we know people who know different stuff.
Yep, completely.
Yeah, I've had conversations with people where I've said, so if you switch everything off, you can come back to about, I don't know, 1800, probably to about 1880 with a couple of years of R&D.
Yeah.
And they go, what do you mean? I said, well, you'll be better off than someone from the 17th century, because you know a whole bunch of other shit that would kill them just because they didn't know it, like filtering water and washing your hands and not putting the latrines right next to the cook tent, that kind of shit.
Yeah.
You know how to make soap, right? And people's eyes just start to glaze over, and it's like, oh, you can't even make a good stab at what it might be, or how to make pain relief from willow bark and stuff. Come on, guys, stop looking at me like that.
Harder.
Yeah.
No.
Go and get a smart person and come back.
Yeah.
It's story time.
It's story time.
Or to quote Peter Capaldi when him and Clara are just standing there and he's Doctor Who, and he goes, I'm the Doctor, and one of the people they've just met goes, and who are you? And she just looks at him and goes, I'm his carer. And he just looks back at her and goes, yeah, she cares so I don't have to, and just walks off.
Great.
Peter Capaldi is the best Doctor.
Weird, stupid tangent. We were talking about smart stories for stupid people.
Yeah.
You want to dig up a weird piece of media just for the ride. There was a series of comics that were put out titled Beautiful Stories for Ugly Children. Episode 1 is Cotton Candy Autopsy. I've never found any others. That's the only one I've ever read. My shopmate Nick was like, you need to see this. This is the weirdest fucking thing ever. And it's two clowns and the bearded lady who basically burn down the circus and escape. And it's bizarre. So, yeah.
Yeah.
So that goes in with, smart stories for stupid people.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah.
Well, CW.
Oh, probably
I'll be back.
Probably
I'll be
wandered
back.
off to find something. There you go.
Yep.
I'm back.
Yeah.
There you go. There's Cotton Candy Autopsy by Piranha
Clicked
Press.
on the wrong thing.
No way.
Oh, yeah. It's wild.
Yep. Well, welcome to the bad things.
No redeeming qualities here whatsoever.
I think
None.
there's redeeming. Yeah, no, there is. There'll be something in there for everyone to read, I'm sure. I'm gonna go in more of my next one now. In terms of I'm gonna follow the link there of like random bits of fiction that are very, very good. One of my all-time favorite books from like science fiction writers, I bug the shit out of Zach with this one constantly. It's Anathem by Neil Stevenson. It is, as far as I'm concerned, the best bit of science fiction that has been written in decades, and probably the only example of a utopian vision that I deem worthy of pursuit in any way, shape, or form. I deem that the monks in that the monk groups and how they operate is a bastion of what civilization should look like. There's something very Arthur C. Clarke about it. There's something very Server Monk about it. It's just and it's a brilliant. And not only that, but also like the world building is wonderful, but also the story itself is a wonderful story in terms of the practicality of just, wrong person, wrong place, has to solve the fucking problem, and then how do we go around solving the problem with hard work and dedication and a bit of patience, something. But yeah, well worth reading. There's a brilliant audiobook copy of it.
An incredible book, and it's worth. I have to say to people, it's worth sticking with.
Yeah.
For a few reasons. The first, it's basically what Neil Stevens is trying to do is kind of trying to convey the timelessness of this kind of thinking. The way that it's possibly worth, in the Buddhist tradition, stifling what someone knows, so they struggle to know it, and then they probably know it.
Yeah.
And you feel the main character's absolute frustration for for a good while when you're reading that book.
Yeah, it's very much, and it's a coming of age story built in there as well. So, the person is a coming of age. It's a coming of age story, and them falling in love for the first time, etc. There's so many different facets of what's going on within the story. It's wonderful. I'm not gonna, and bear with it beyond the. You get about 5 chapters in, and you're like, "What the fuck is? Why the fuck is Harvey told me to go and read this book?" But stick with it, and all of a sudden, weird shit starts happening, and then it goes completely out of like fucking left field. You're like, this is the fucking romp. Like, this is the sci-fi fucking romp of a story type thing.
Yeah.
And it is an absolute fucking page turner when you get past, because it doesn't start slowly, but it starts with the machinations of where he is and what's going on within the monastery and how the monastery works and what is going on type thing. And it's just a wonderful bit of world building in terms of like what goes on. But yeah, you have to stick with it beyond the vision of like, fuck.
You dropped out.
Why the fuck are we talking about like, everyone writing on slate chalks and what's going on?
Yeah, no, it's really good.
Am I back?
Yeah, you don't get the idea of what's going on for quite a while in the book, but it is good. Like if you like Snow Crash, it's kind of like Snow Crash with a bit more persistence on the reader's part, but worth it.
Yeah. No. And yeah, audiobook available. Stolen from somewhere or other. I don't know where I stole it from, but yeah, it's out there.
Wherever you steal your media from, it's generally there.
Yep. Yeah. I don't know who's next. Keep going.
Me? Okay.
Yep, you go.
For want of throwing something in, did I talk about The Survivors last time?
You did.
Okay. I will then. Did I talk about Person of Interest last time?
Yes, you did.
Okay. Okay, so I would say movie to watch, because movies are much quicker than books, and it's a fun romp, but weird in the way that I feel about it now as I feel about it by a child. Colossus, the Forbin Project. I don't know if you guys have seen it. 1970s sci-fi about an AI that takes over the world. Very, very good.
Absolutely one of the best bits of science fiction, and in terms of like so well done, and so sublime in terms of the outcome is wonderful.
Yeah,
the outcome is absolutely wonderful. Yeah, I don't want to ruin it. The end of that film is like, watch it and watch it again. But when you're watching the end of the film, think about it with your with the outcome of like, what would I like the world to look like when this happened? It's a brilliant bit of fiction in terms of it's talking about the AGI getting a foothold and then what goes on, and it's very much written at the height of the Cold War. So it's being written in the it's being written with a diatribe of the 1950s almost type thing in terms of like what is occurring and what the outcome of this social experiment type thing will be. But the outcome in terms of real worldness is fundamentally different for those of us who have $1 million versus those of us who there's millions of us with $1. Yeah, it is one of the best proofs I think of the.
I'm closing in on a link for you because I don't want to spoil.
Yeah, I think it's on archive.org. I'm pretty sure it's on archive.org. I'm pretty sure I've seen it there.
It's on YouTube.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know there was a movie of The Lathe of Heaven.
I didn't know there was a movie of The Lathe of Heaven either. When did they make that?
Holy shit! Seems to be the whole movie. On this same playlist, Night of the Comet. Wow.
You reminded me with...
we're just... The YouTube person that is running this, I'm just going to put a link in the chat because, wow. It's got some good classic sci-fi in there. My YouTube is being slow because I'm streaming.
Of course.
There you go, quickly in the chat. And as ephemeral as that will be and no one's watching. Yeah.
Yeah.
So go to YouTube, Jesus Dalton. While you can, while it's up, because there's a lot of really good classic sci-fi there. So yeah, that's nice. That came out of that. So go there and subscribe and then watch stuff because that is a great collection of movies. So yeah, watch old sci-fi.
Yeah,
they want you to ask questions. What happens to them? What happens now? What are they going to do? No, there won't be a sequel. Not a series of films. Fuck off. You're supposed to have questions at the end of sci-fi. What did they do next? We don't know. Yeah, I think if somebody watched Colossus the Forbidden Project, it'd be like, so it ended on a cliffhanger. Yeah, like life.
Yeah, the outcome wasn't obvious. That's okay.
Yeah, good old bleak 1970s sci-fi.
Yeah, where the world was going to end. I'm reminded then of Day of the Triffids. The Day of the Triffids. I think it was it 78 or 81 when they did the BBC film version.
Again, BBC TV from the 70s was pretty good.
Yeah, pretty good. But it left it. I mean, the book's good. Don't get me wrong. The book is good. But the production that happened for Day of the Triffids for the 70s/early 80s version was it's very much like competent people going camping, and then what do we do? What's the outcome? Can we go and hunt it then, you useless cat?
On the subject of 70s TV, if anybody here has watched Rome, now go and watch I, Claudius by I don't know who wrote it. I do know. Starring Derek Jacobi. Just amazing. It's basically Rome, but with a BBC Doctor Who budget.
And Cadfile, don't forget that. I mean, come on.
Oh yeah, well, Derek Jacobi in Cadfile. So it's basically a young Derek Jacobi going from teenage
He's fantastic
Claudius.
in anything he does. He seriously is just an amazing fucking actor.
It's worth watching the entire. I think it's a 9-part series, but it's worth watching it for Brian Blessed as Julius Caesar.
Yes,
that's fair.
and yeah, there you go. Robert Graves, yeah. So yeah, it's basically Rome if it was made by the BBC with Doctor Who's budget. But surprisingly, like old Doctor Who, the crap bits fade into the background while you're being swept along by the story.
Yeah.
And Sean Phillips, who played Gaius Mohiam in Dune, the David Lynch one, peace be upon him and stuff. She's in it as well as Livia. So you've basically got the Royal Shakespeare Company making Rome, if you like. Excellent. You'll spend all your time watching for classic actors, but it's just astonishingly funny and good. It is a comedy if you've got a dark sense of humour. John Hurt's in it.
Yes.
Ian Ogilvy, Patrick Stewart, but Brian Blessed. Brian Blessed. I think they told him that the scenery was made out of peppermints or something, because he chews that scenery all the way through the fucking thing.
No, it's I'm gonna yeah, okay then. The BBC Shakespeare productions that have that's like John Cleese doing the Taming of the Shrew is exactly the same on exactly the same level, like just so worth watching. The Hamlet production where it's like you can actually understand what's going on because the acting is just that good, the direction, the production values are that good type thing in terms of what's going on. But yeah, it's very similar vein as I, Claudius type thing. Yeah.
But listening to Brian Blessed scream, "Has anyone here not slept with my daughter?" It's just peak. I, Claudius is what Brian Blessed is famous for.
Yeah.
And then he went on to do Flash Gordon and stuff because he'd been in I, Claudius and that too.
Because he'd been an actor. Yeah. Because he worked. Yeah. Yep.
And Phantom Menace.
Yep.
But yeah. Just some of the. My mum. This is in the dawn of VHS. My mum had someone record it for her because she was working nights. And we spent an entire weekend just watching I, Claudius. We watched the entire season in one go. And it was just brilliant. It's just, it's almost like the stage version of I, Claudius. And in that way, the old war movies have got like 50 famous actors in it. Things like A Bridge Too Far has got everybody famous they could jam into it because they've missed out on being in The Longest Day.
Yep.
But yeah. Next,
I'm looking at books.
Yeah.
I've actually got one of my. That's a copy of High Performance Sailing that no one will ever probably find a copy of. You don't need to find a copy of this unless you want to read about how to put a boat together. It is literally like boat engineering designs. As a random aside, of things that I pulled off the shelf to explain the next bit. Right, going with last time round, Iron Angel was talking about like good books about stuff, and I'm going to continue on with my chemistry books. So I have as a working title, I have TAFE books. TAFE doesn't mean anything to anyone else, right? TAFE is like the Technological and Further Education Authority in Australia. That's the TAFE Fitting and Machining Guidebook. You can see how thick it is. It explains to you how to run every single machine in a machine shop, all of the things you need to do, all of the OH&S. It's literally like the whole of like fitting and machining, from like grinding your first thing on a grind wheel and what to expect, right, to like how to use a borer, to how to use a mill, to how all of the arbors work. It's everything, like everything you could possibly want to know in a machine shop is in this book, right? So it's a trade book. I have subsequent
stupid
trade
people
book.
place piece of metal against the grinder. Everybody that's smart watch, take the now blind, stupid person away from the grinder, and now everybody remembers to put on safety goggles.
Yeah, we have the extension to the fitting and machining book, which doesn't cover hydraulics and pneumatics. So we have Pneumatic Control for Industrial Automation by Rona and Smith, right? It's literally like how to do the circuit diagrams, how hydraulics and then how pneumatics work. There's the hydraulics version. Okay.
Have you read Lucifer's Hammer?
I have. Yeah.
You're the guy with the books in the septic tank.
Yeah, exactly. And then we have a first. This goes back. This is like 1996 when I did my first trade training course at TAFE at college, at technical college. And this is my copy of Automotive Mechanics, Volume 1, 5th edition, which explains to you not only how to service a clutch, but also what a clutch does and how it works, how drive lines and shafts work, how you would put them together and what they look like, etc., etc., etc. It is like the universal, this is how you repair all the cars, not the one you have the manual for type thing. So it's like the book described as like the technical manual for the people who are learning the first steps about doing that thing. I have many of them typed in because I go around collecting this bullshit because I am that kind of person. Yeah, but those books which are written for teaching, people in their first trade, people going into, trades, whatever type thing, teaching them how to operate machinery, teaching them how to operate tools and skills and all those sort of type thing. We could go with like woodworking books. I'm going to walk away from the screen a bit. Sorry. We could go with like, the old woodwork. Where's the woodworking book gone? I had it out the other day. I've lost it. Yeah, like, the old, here it is, things I've stolen from work previously. Woodworking, theory and practice. There's the carpentry book that everyone needed, how to do every single joint you ever needed to do type thing. It is enough of an explainer. Don't bother, you can, they're all on archive.org, how you cut up a tree, for example, how a tree will be cut up if you want to cut up a tree. On a range of topics. They're like one step beyond what you would get in a pair cyclopedia, and it takes you all the way through to, like, these are the best people in trade writing the book because they're capable of writing the book about how you do all of the things you should know how to do as a technician. They're not a solution. They're not the how you do it. They're the stepping stone to, like, know, now I've got the book to explain to me the process of doing the next step, which is very important.
I'm
you could do it about everything.
A huge fan of books that are just a bloody good start when you want to do something.
Yeah.
This is a great place to start. Boom. If you do become good at this, you will find the other books that do that.
Yeah, you will find the other books. And this all came, I'm going to blame Iron Angel for this one. Iron Angel reminded me of a book called The New Edge of the Anvil. I can't remember who wrote it, but it's the blacksmithing book that we were basically like told to go and buy and then read cover to cover for blacksmithing for when I went to blacksmithing college in the UK. So, my second trade training course when I'd done a bit of welding at college, and I'd done a bit of automotive stuff at college, and I'd done the toolmaker's apprentice. And then New Edge of the Anvil was the book that was like, when I went to the UK and went to technical college in the UK, it was like, this is the book you get to be a blacksmith. This is the book that will explain to you the process of being a blacksmith from, like, first principles all the way through to what's going on. And it just, Iron Angel reminded me of it last time we were doing the media stream type thing. But yeah, so things in that vein. I don't want to say these books. I'm saying things along those veins. It's very, it's very amorphous sort of, set of media. But you get what I mean. Yeah. And you can do it for anything. Yeah, you can do it for anything.
I'm just going to see if I can. Sure, it's Fred Hargreaves.
And if you want to know about book engineering, if you want to know about boat engineering, then High Performance Sailing is well worth a read. It's a very interesting book. I stole it from work when I worked as a storeman packer.
Jack Hargreaves, that's it. You guys are going to love this. Okay. Stop that. That's going out on the stream, I should imagine. There was a TV show that you'll like. Jack Hargreaves, Lost Country Crafts. And he was like an old dude that went and interviewed other old dudes that were the last people that actually fucking did this. Yeah. So that's, once you know who Jack Hargreaves is, you can search for, there's quite a lot of it on YouTube. But he literally used to go, and this is how you build a gypsy caravan. Because no one's doing it. This is the last guy. He's 90. He'll be dead soon. This is in the 70s. He'll be dead soon.
Yeah.
And no one wants to do it.
Tuned, yeah.
And, just randomized shit. How to care for Shire horses and shit. Which is, basically a traction engine made of meat.
Yeah.
It's a Shire horse. They're just gigantic. They're a couple of tons each. That's what we used.
Yeah.
Because they were marginally easier to deal with than oxen. So yeah, that if you need some stuff nobody knows how to do porn, Jack Hargreaves was totally the dude.
Yeah.
It's very calming as well. Like,
the one on Shire horses is exceptional too. I remember that one, and I've worked with them before. I've shoed them and stuff, and yeah, they're massive. So you really do need to know what you're doing.
Yeah. But I think he also did a thing about just general horse lore, LORE, where he'd literally go through, as in when people were using Hanson cabs and stuff like that in London. there's a whole bunch of cabbie horse lore that exists as well. He's a fascinating guy. I mean, imagine he's obviously interested in it, and he's managed to spin that interest into a TV career. And he was on TV for about 30 years just doing this. The soundtrack's very calming as well. But yeah, learn how to do stuff. It's handy.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the fitting machining book is the one that I wanted to send everyone a link for, and I can't find it. So I'll endeavour to try and find the fitting machining book, and find people a PDF copy of it so that everyone can have a squidge. But it's just that vein of book,
Yeah.
Universities universally like to hide their reading lists behind paywalls. They consider it to be the thing they own out of all the things they own, and that's just horrible and corrupt and horrible type thing. But yeah, I would put go and find the reading list for the first year university course in English literature, in chemistry, in science, in this, in that, anything you can find that's interesting, and then go and find those books. They're all available secondhand, if not for nothing, because they've all been used. They've all been used for by a student for 1 year, and go and just sit them on a shelf somewhere, and then slowly pick your way through them type thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, not enough people want to know how to do stuff.
Yep.
But I mean, you could travel back in time 100 years and just tell a blacksmith everything's in this book.
Yeah.
And they'd be like, "What?"
Yeah.
Well, you've got to be an apprentice for 20 years and not write anything down. You just got to know.
And not write anything down because it's a state secret. Yeah. Yeah. So that was.
Yeah, there's a lot of that where, you look at stuff and go, "Oh, could you do that?" And you're like, "I could." Not as well as the guy that does it.
Yeah, but
I'm pretty sure I could figure it out if I was interested enough.
Yep. Exactly.
But, when those things are very, very life important, you're going to be motivated to learn it. That's why I've got those starter books for a lot of stuff. This is the first book. Okay, now I need to do this. Okay, now we need to, hit a university library and go looking in the engineering section. Or
exactly.
Break into Halfords and pick up some Haynes manuals. Now that we understand the basics of automotive engineering. But
you read the automotive engineering book because it explains to you how every single system works, and then you go and find because then that gives you the skills or the abilities to go and read the actual technical manual with a bit of backwards and forwards and a bit of assistance and a bit of guesswork. You can then read the manual for the car and actually understand all cars and then one car type thing, as opposed to doing it the other way around, which is having the Halfords book, which teaches you how to do it in one vehicle, as opposed to the general principle of what the fuck is going on, and why does this system actually exist within a car.
But it's just just knowing kind of how plenishing works means that you can turn a car door into a fruit bowl, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
And it will be stronger and it won't warp because of the way you've hit it. Just shit like that. Just having that tiny bit of knowledge means that you sit at 1600s technology where you could probably build a water wheel out of wood. It'd take forever.
Yeah.
You need a whole bunch of stupid people to make it for you once you've figured out how you're going to do it. But you'll jump in technology. You don't go back to the Stone Age. You go back to the Edwardian era where you kind of understand how a steam engine worked, and now you've got to try and find some sort of fuel it'll run off.
Yeah.
How wood burning stove works. So you could probably rejig a car to run off, birch wood. If you really wanted to.
So one of the interesting things that you're taught in your first year, I don't know whether it's done anywhere else, university, I've never seen it done anywhere else. One of the things that you are across the board taught when you go and do a fitting, machining, tool making, any kind of CNC machining course, something. The first course that you do is called hand tools, and that hand tools is taken out of the TAFE library of subjects that every single person who does a mechanical trade does hand tools. So it's MEM, N one is it's the first subject you do, and depending on which stream you do is depending on what you do. So if you did carpentry, you do hand tools with carpentry, and then you might do hand tools in electronic engineering. You go and learn how to put whatever together and use a screwdriver and safely operate whatever hand tools you're going to use there. The one for fitting machining is always very, very interesting. Tool making, fitting machining, CNC work, because the last project they give you is like the first project they give you is like, here's a hacksaw, here's a lump of metal. Now cut around, like draw around the guidelines. So learn how to use a rule, and then learn how to use a scribe, and learn how to use bluing ink and all the rest of that thing. And then you were going to cut out this shape. And the last step on all the steps through, so like 80 hours, 2 weeks of work in your hand tools course, you get all the way to how do you scrape something with a scraper. And it's like, here is a scraper, right? You're gonna make a scraper down. When you get down to like to tempering and finishing steels, you get to make your own bit inserts and all the rest of it to actually make yourself a fucking scraper, right? A scraper is just a thing that looks a bit like a long shanked engineer's file with like an additional bit on the end of it type thing. And a scraper does exactly what the name tells you it does. It scrapes things. In metalworking, it scrapes metal filings off of a flat bed surface. So you will have a flat bed surface, and then you will basically like rub blue ink, you rub engineer's ink all over it type thing, and then the high points are marked out of it. And then you take your scraper and you scrape, and you will spend a good couple of days, and if the teacher does not like you, you will spend a good week hand scraping a block to make it flat, because then you have the one thing you always need as an engineer is a flat piece of metal, like you have a flat piece of cast iron, which you have then made yourself. And when you have one piece of flat metal, which you have scraped to be hand flat, that is like, as flat as we can make it in terms of engineering scales by hand, you can then make anything else you want to make flat because you have a flat thing. And if you sort of enjoy the suck of it type thing, and you enjoy the hard work of it, it's quite a fun little project, because you make your flat.
It's kind of
quite a lovely thing.
the difference between a blacksmith's forge and the ability to, with enough people and enough time, make RMS Titanic.
Exactly.
It's like that is the jump. It's like if
the jump.
You can't make the Titanic with 2,000 blacksmiths. It would take forever.
Yeah.
But it's like through the understanding of tools, you then basically make engineers that design and make tools to make all the other shit possible.
To make things. Yeah.
So I get where you're
and
coming
all
from.
the step of all the step that is the bit beyond the making the individual thing, like making the plowshare, making the whatever, is then it comes down to what are the steps that I have to do in terms of any process. Like when I start with I need I need a dingus. How do I make the dingus from the thing that I have the skills to make? And then what does the dingus have to do in its operation to make the dingus work in that situation? Yeah. So there's a million different ways of making a dingus, but how do I make the dingus that is like the easiest to make, the most functional way of making it in terms of does it adhere to strength standards? Will it like break in service type thing? How do I, am I better off forging the dingus, or am I better off machining the dingus? Like which way around am I going to do this? And it's going through that process that actually makes you an engineer. And that's where these books kind of like lead you on the adventure. They lead you on the adventure too. It's not a how do I make X, Y, Z. It's the thinking behind the X, Y, Z, so that you're actually a skilled and competent tradesperson to go and then make anything you want to make, which is really the important step. It's like the encyclopedia knowledge, it's like the general engineering knowledge gets superimposed on your brain. It's quite an important thing. It's when they talk about it in mathematics in terms of when you go through undergraduate mathematics, you get to a certain point where you're no longer just doing mathematics for the rote learner doing mathematics. You actually start thinking about the concept of what is mathematics and why are you doing this thing, and then what are the skills. You have all these skills you build up in your maths courses, but then how do you approach an unknown problem, and what are you going to do with an unknown problem? And it's exactly the same thing when you get to be an engineer. When you do engineering qualifications in Australia, when you finally get to the end of doing engineering qualifications, it's not I can build a G-clamp, or I can make a spring, or I can do this, or I can do that. It's like, why do I build the spring that I built? Why do we build the spring the way we build the spring? Because the spring has to operate in this environment, being built by a method that you can train anyone to do, and it has to function in this certain way. And we've learnt by experience that when you make a spring look like this, it will work, and it will universally work for robustness for a long time. It will last 30 years in a car type thing, and that is why the back of a Land Cruiser looks the way the back of a Land Cruiser has existed from the start of my childhood all the way back to the start of the fucking Industrial Revolution, all the way through to right now. The back of a Land Cruiser has not changed. It's the same elliptical spring operation. The springs have changed, the material I've made them out of has changed, but the process of making that spring and what it's made out of and how it's done is just the iteration upon the iteration upon the iteration, which is cool.
But when our tribes are starting to build like flying cars and shit after the apocalypse, Promise
Yeah.
me that when we interact with the stupid people, we dress up like extras from Mad Max and go, "You are from the before time," and shit like that. You have
completely.
made the thing that goes.
Completely.
The thunder
Yeah.
in the mountains come, and then behind the big wall, there's like Futurama type city.
Yeah,
Oh
yeah,
yes,
yeah.
you've come from there.
Yeah.
Be gone,
Yeah.
Val Heretic.
Yep. What's the things to come is the film, isn't it? Type thing. The
Yeah,
black and white film of the 60s.
H.G. Wells.
Yes,
yeah.
indeed, it was.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, absolutely worth watching in terms of like following through the process of
Well, my 60s
we got
science
bombed back to
fiction thing.
we got
when
bombed
we were
back to the
talking about
Stone
it.
Age, and we're living in a mud hut surrounded by like a broken fucking house, and hit yourself. Why don't you just put the roof back on? Like
Yeah.
you've got slates. Like
Well, that's every Fallout game. You didn't
Yeah.
tidy up
Yeah.
for like 300 years. What the fuck?
why did you leave all the screws in the box? The box
Yeah.
is marked screws. Like why did you leave them in the screw box?
Yeah.
It's bizarre. Why did you
Why
do
am,
that
I,
for?
why am I finding
Yeah.
5 screws after killing 30 zombies? You dicks.
Yep.
But the bit in the time machine where you just know most of the people you meet are going to be like the Eloy books. We
Yeah.
have books,
Yeah.
and he goes in and
We
they're
have
just
books.
all fucked. And it's like, no, really?
Yeah. That's what was the? It's a 3-part thing. You told me about it not that long ago. It's about the guy he's a geologist and then he gets bit by a snake and then he ends up fainting and going into what was it called? Earth Abides? No. That was different again. Earth Abides is the Arthur C. Clarke thing about devil. Isn't it?
No,
I'll have
that's
to go back and find
Childhood's
it. But yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was Childhood Ends. Yeah, and that it was like, him using the library, taking his son to the library type thing. And it's a
Yeah.
bit like this is the competent person doing this.
Yeah.
This is the person that's, I
I
respect the
think
books.
it is
We collect them.
the Earth Abides, where like loads of people just die off, and he's
Yeah.
that's it.
Yeah.
That's kind of a modern
Yeah.
one. It's like kind of
Yeah.
You don't have to be that capable.
No. You don't have to be capable at all. You just have to have the
You're going
question.
to be running your local area if you can make fucking fire.
Yeah. Yep.
So it's like I've seen people try and do fire. People aren't good at it. They're not good at filtering water. They're not good at staying indoors. They're not good at not injuring themselves with new and shiny toys. It's amazing.
Yep. Yep.
I mean, yeah. But yeah, I would throw Lucifer's Hammer into the mix. Not because they do everything right, but they show you a whole bunch of ways you could theoretically do it very, very wrong.
Yep.
But the guy that saves all the books is probably the only person I like in that whole thing. And just goes and says, it's going to cost you a sheep a month. What? I'm diabetic. You're going to want to keep me alive. I can do all this shit. And I go, yeah, we
Yep.
need to keep them alive, guys. I even know how to make the insulin from the sheep. Fantastic. I'll just do what you say. That's how I feel about some of the people I know that can do stuff. Yes, leave them alone. They're going to do that.
Yeah.
You're going to be
don't touch
warm
them.
and fed. Leave them the
Yeah.
fuck alone. Do what they say. And then people go, I don't understand why we should be in a hierarchy. It's like, oh, let's go back a few thousand years. He is the court wizard. Just let him be, or he will strike you down with instant death.
The shaman will predict your death and then magically you'll be dead tomorrow because you didn't filter the water properly.
If you piss him off, we will eat you.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep, completely.
But yeah, people are amazing. It's like, this is all working for you right now. I did shoot a video last night. My friend Sam came over, was on the last episode. We turned off the electricity for a few hours and just thought random crap and just like have a radio, have a stove.
Yep.
Please.
Yep.
You're not wandering to the streets and panic. But it was kind of the episode 0. I'll be uploading that shortly.
I'm actually discussing with Phoenix right now. She's at work at a store, and everyone here is going through oh my God, the world is ending because it's going to snow tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They're
as opposed to the like, maybe I should be home before it snows really, really badly.
Exactly. And
You know,
here's the funny thing.
And I already
They're
prepared
buying-
everything.
They're buying the classic fixings to make French toast, but they don't know how. They're now the monkey in the room.
Wow.
They literally have gotten to a point where they know what they're supposed to buy, but they don't know what to do with it after they get it. So they're
Right.
buying bread, milk, and eggs, but they don't know what it's for, and they
Right.
go bad.
That's
And because we have
terrifying.
an egg shortage, oh yeah,
Yeah.
and
And there's a
because we have
massive
an
edge
egg
shortage in the US.
shortage,
Yeah.
Yeah.
there's like literally people fighting over eggs right now. It's fucking insane.
Yep.
We live out in the middle of nowhere. Goddamn.
Yep.
It snows here every year, you fucking morons.
Yep. But I mean, you're in the middle of snow season, okay? And your West Coast is currently on fire. I am honestly like we've had massive bushfires where I am in the state that I'm in, type thing, in Australia, type thing, and they will only get worse as we proceed onwards, type thing, with climate catastrophe. But I am reminded every year that like twice a year I have to change because in summertime I'm likely to get fired out. Like we are likely to have to jump in the car and get out with a fire. So kiddo needs a set of clothes like that fit her. So twice a year I change all of her clothes over so that her clothes fucking fit her in the bag to like go and do the thing. My clothes don't particularly change. I don't change shape that much. So I like, one set of clothes for me, fine, good, done. Don't think about it type thing. But it's like, do the preparation before you might have to leave the house with the 2 bags and the cat you own type thing, and you can't get anything else in the house, because you might have to fucking walk down the road. The same thing will come around again 6 months later when I'm likely to get flooded out of my house because I just live somewhere where there's not. If it's not going to burn down, it's going to flood down. I don't know why I live here, but yeah, But then, the number of people who have small cars and drive through big puddles, and every year I look at them and go to myself, I know how high my car is. I have a Land Cruiser. I know how far I can drive without getting stuck. I will not drive higher than what the height of my intake is and destroy my car. But the number of people who drive through with like a tiny fucking car, and it's like, I'm not stopping to pull you out. This is a learning you experience. Like you're now going to sit on the side of the road with a dud car being wet because you now crashed because you now stuck your car in a fucking puddle because you could have stopped me when I was like, I would have given you a lift across the fucking water. I would have driven you into town even. Like, I can fit like fucking 20 people in my car. It's a big fucking car. I would have given 20 people a lift and driven back to give more people a fucking lift. But you decided to like put your car in the middle of the road and block everyone from going what we need to do. You're dumb. I'm sorry, you're not having access to more toys anymore.
The things that people would have taken, I mean, still would take the piss out. If somebody comes into your house in the UK, because we've got good tap water, and sees you've got like a 6-pack of bottled water, and they go, "Why?"
Yeah.
Because it's not guaranteed.
Yeah.
It's
$1.50
sometimes.
It doesn't
and that's
work.
not guaranteed. Yeah. It's an investment.
Yeah.
Me and Sam were talking about that. He actually brought over the list of what food he's got in his cupboard. He said, "I'll just figure it out." And his girlfriend used to take the piss out of full cupboards full of cans and pasta and shit like that. And he lives in central Manchester. She lives in the middle of nowhere, and she doesn't do that.
Yeah.
It's like, why have you not got?
How many steps are you reliant on for when you go to the shop to get one meal? That meal's going to be there. Just think about that for 10 seconds.
People don't really cook all that much anymore.
Yeah. No. But even if you were going to go and get like the plastic meal, the rehydratable plastic meal type thing, you're still. Just think about how many steps there are along the line type thing. But people are unwilling to think about how many steps there are in the line. And then go, this might not be here tomorrow. Maybe I should think about it, what else is going on type thing.
So, I basically showcased the stove, the simple flat stove that I got.
Yeah.
And just sort of like ran that for 2 hours while we were chatting about stuff. So it's not a very visually exciting thing, but it's like, you could have one of these for 10 quid.
Yeah.
For $20, you've now got the ability to cook if everything gets shut off.
Yep.
Your internet's down. What are you going to do? You've got no electricity, no heating, no what?
Yeah. What's the next step?
People used to just naturally do this because they didn't have those things a lot of the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Our grandparents
we're all
didn't
trying
necessarily
to be slightly more competent.
Guaranteed electricity.
Yeah.
And now weather events are causing people to not have electricity.
Yeah, regularly.
And, people are losing their minds. But it's literally just $30 worth of insurance.
Yep.
It's really bizarre to me because, I grew up with my grandparents who lived through the Depression. And so, they kept all that stuff on hand just because that was habit.
Yeah.
It saved them a bunch of times.
Yeah.
And I still do it because that's what I grew up with. That's what's normal to me. And I go over to somebody else's house and it's like, do you have any kind of stores whatsoever? Well, what should I get? Oh, hell. the level of knowledge we're going to have to build just to get you to this point
Yeah.
is an entire university course.
Well, or just walk to your fuse box, set an alarm for 24 hours from now, and just switch it the fuck off.
And then work out what you did wrong.
Yeah.
Most of them will die.
Yeah.
That's okay. That's okay. That's okay. That's the universality that has to occur. That's fine. I'm willing to accept this fact.
Yeah.
We'll continue this. I imagine in the coming weeks. Again, we'll try and get off our ass and do this again. I'm going with we're at 2 hours, Zach. We need to round this up. A bit over 2 hours, in fact.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's
I
on
was
the list.
getting ready to fuck off and do things I'm actually supposed to be doing. So
Cool.
Yeah, fair enough. Fair
Okay.
enough.
2 hours
I
is
have
a
to-
good
I-
point.
you'll like this though. I've started recording, rebuilding a blacksmith shop, basically ground up, absolute zero. How do you do it on a budget? How do you do it on the cheap? How do you do it on the free? That kind of shit.
Awesome.
I've started doing that. We just have to figure out, how we're going to distribute and that kind of stuff. I figure probably YouTube. Initially, I'm doing it all audio because right now, it's like what, 8 below C
Yeah.
out there.
Yeah.
So,
we don't,
yeah,
we
fuck
don't
that.
need to see you outside if it's going to kill you, dude.
No,
Yeah.
no.
I'm not. I'm just not. Well, I've got to get a lens for the camera. I was dicking with this one, looking at how wide it is. I was like, I could use this camera. Fuck no.
Yeah.
It's like a 170-degree lens on it, and I want something that you can actually see what the hell's going on. So,
Yeah.
little fun trivia.
Yeah.
S mount or M12.5 millimeter lenses fit GoPros.
Ah.
Oh,
So
okay.
you can basically buy a security camera lens for £8
Yep.
and swap it out to you slap because the standard lens, how the lens works is how far it is away from the sensor,
Yeah.
and all it really is a longer tube. So if you buy a 12 millimeter lens, you have just as good image quality and a much narrower field of view, so you have more detail.
Yep.
So I'm just going to swap in like a 25 millimeter lens or a variable focus, and
Yep,
hopefully be able to
definitely.
actually get some blacksmith stuff.
Awesome,
And so
yeah.
we'll have that.
Yeah, especially if you sort out the video equipment on the cheap as well. That'd be interesting to see, as well as the blacksmith shop stuff. It's
Well,
like, I'm
the
not
video
kidding.
on the
This
cheap-
is the camera.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The video equipment is literally going to be a 20 quid GoPro knockoff.
Yep.
They're all over online markets,
Yeah.
eBay, Amazon, AliExpress, that kind of stuff. Get a camera that is capable of shooting in 4K, shoot at 1080p, and you'll have no difficulties whatsoever.
Yeah.
And so, that's what I'm going to do.
Awesome.
I still put it in the browns of like, I made the first video for Rangers on a laptop that I like stuck in the kitchen on the bench and then made bread. That was like, still like, just fucking anyone can get it done. We all have like, technology now to get it done. But I'm going to point out DankPod's latest video about iPhones is like it's about the iPhone. What are we up to? Like iPhone 12 or whatever the fuck number we're up to, type thing.
Yeah.
But he's not talking about it in terms of like this is an iPhone. He's talking about it in terms of like this is a device that like I'm just going to use it as a camera because this thing works just as a camera and it is ubiquitously like you can find the equivalent. He's got one because tax write off and he can afford it and good on him type thing. But ubiquitously. A fucking mobile phone is a great fucking the best fucking camera that anyone has walking around in their pocket any time of the day because everyone has a fucking smartphone nowadays apart from my mum who doesn't have a smartphone.
And one that's 2 or 3 generations back is just fine. They were
exactly
they were
like
3 years ago.
I can't think what Tilda's is. Tilda's is a 12 or 11 or something iPhone, and I fiddle with it all fucking time because I'm like I don't have an iPhone to fiddle with, so I fiddle with her fucking iPhone. But I'm like, this is a fucking great little camera like you've got here in terms of like just doing it and doing bits and pieces, and it's exactly the same with my fucking 10-year-old bloody Android. It's not 10 years old, but like 5-year-old Android type thing. It's like no, it's absolutely fucking fine. It's a mid-range fucking device that just works.
I would throw DankPods into the mix of recommended media for things like Garbage Time and the drum thing and just DankPods.
Yeah,
Garbage time is what not to do.
Yeah, no, I like
Let's
Garbage
be
Time
honest.
because it's Top Gear, but somebody I actually like. It's
Yeah.
like anti-Top
Yeah.
Gear.
Yeah, but
It's just got
you
the
know,
worst ever cars. It goes, oh, you get one of these, mate. It's a donkey. We're just going to see how efficient it is when we're driving around to the beach. Oh, shit. You know.
and let's replace the engine oil with eggnog. You know,
Yeah.
I mean
Yeah,
stuff like
yeah,
that.
yeah.
So
It's
I
you
think
know,
they're waiting for the summer to be over so they can actually film. They're just dicking around with stuff that they have to scrap.
oh
anyway.
yeah,
But yeah,
yeah, it's too fucking
like-
hot here.
But it is it's more the reviews of really terrible vehicles that
Yeah.
I just love.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like they'll go
He
down
hasn't.
to their
I don't think he's done a lot. I don't think he's done a Lada yet, and I don't want him to destroy a Lada, so I'm like not going to suggest it. But I'm like, because it's one of my like the Ladas that came out of Russia are like principally my favorite vehicle. I think that everyone should own a Lada. I don't think that anything evolved like cars have not evolved past a Lada in terms of like what they've done. We've just made like engines a bit more efficient, but in terms of like actually the vehicle you want is like a Land
is a-
Rover Discovery.
the thing
It's a
about
Land Rover
Lada
Discovery,
is-
or you want a fucking Lada, and it's like, no, I'm sorry, there's like nothing else, and then you want like
Yeah.
the Unimog, like that's like the universality of like, you know, do I own a farm, but it's not a big farm? Yes, you need a Land Rover or a Land Cruiser. Do I own like, you know, do I need a little tiny fucking car? Right, you need a Lada, but you can now have we can now like maybe strap in like, you know, the ultra efficient like Prius engine into the Lada, but make
Yeah.
it work.
Do I need
But
to
you don't
invade
need any more than
France?
or
I'll need a
or
Unimog.
Yugo.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Yugos
yeah,
go
yeah.
forever.
Do I need to like start an actual fucking like, you know, do I need to start an actual fucking like, you know, trail behind a line of Land Cruisers in Mogadishu? You need a Unimog, but you know, or you want to, you know, pull down some big trees or something or other, or do some actual work in the field.
Yeah.
You need a Unimog.
I mean,
But that's, you know,
Ladas are quite easy to fix for nearly
That's right.
everything.
Yeah.
But
and they run
we
on
actually
basically
need-
anything.
there's a
an
reason
episode
for that
on
is because they
transit.
do break down a lot.
Yeah,
So
that's-
if you
that's the
own
way
a
it should
Lada
be.
for a year, you probably will have pretty good mechanic experience.
Yeah, you know how the car works by taking about the car.
Like a really, really mean nun, it will educate you or kill you.
Yeah, exactly.
This is one
exactly.
of those things that we need to do an entire episode just on transit and vehicles.
Yeah, yeah.
Because it needs to be said. I mean, everybody should own a bicycle, period.
Yeah.
End of discussion. And you know, an entire, you know, thing on, because there are no cheap cars anymore. Everything now is 20 grand. And
Yeah.
that 20 grand gets you a
Nothing.
infotainment system and 4 not very good tires. And the rest of it is just shit.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm going to have to be AFK just for a second because I need some
That's
cigarettes.
okay.
Yeah,
let's say goodbye. Let's say goodbye. Let's say
probably
goodbye.
gonna-
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
probably
hit
gonna ditch
pause
off.
and we'll all go away and do things and then we'll hang around otherwise. But yeah, thank you everyone for watching. If you streamed, thank you for
Yeah.
coming back and watching
Thank you for
more.
listening. We'll
We
do
have-
some more
We
soon
have more books.
and stuff.
We have
Yeah.
more stuff to do. Talk about next
We
time.
have an insane amount of books. But yeah, if you want to be on it, it's all doable. Get in touch. Leave a message on the YouTube video.
Yep.
And we'll do our thing.
Bye.
So
Thanks.
thank you to Iron Angel, to Digital Whiskey and Harlequin, and I've been Zach. Yeah, all take care. Be safe.
Bye.
Good night.
Ta-ta.